If we could go ahead and call this Pompano Beach City Commission meeting to order, October 24th, 2023. If I could ask everyone in attendance to please go ahead and silence their cell phones or put them on vibrate so we don't get disrupted during the meeting, that would be great. I appreciate that, so silence them or put them on vibrate. Kervin, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Here.
Commissioner Moss? Commissioner Perkins?
Here.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton?
Here.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Here.
Mayor Harden?
Here, thank you for that. Our invocation will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation tonight will be given by the pastor, Pastor Harold Wesley of the Newborn Holiness Church. If I could ask everyone to please rise for the invocation followed by the pledge. Pastor?
Let us pray. All wise and eternal God, we come, Lord, today thanking you for your many blessings. Father, we thank you for this day that you have allowed us to witness. Father, we trust that thou will look down upon this meeting, touch the hearts and the mind of those that regulate, amen, and orchestrate over the lives of your people. Father, help them to realize that their hearts are in your hand, Lord, and as the rivers of water, you are able to make them to do what you desire to have them to do. Father, we thank you for BSO, all the government officials. We trust that thou will continue to look down upon us, Lord, and give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and understanding to be able to know right from wrong. We know that you're able to do it because all power is in your hand. And as we embark upon business, Lord, sanctify their minds, sanctify their hearts, and help them to realize that they have a soul that needs to be saved if they haven't given their lives over unto you. These and all of the blessing we ask in the name of the Father, Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Can I get a motion approving the regular City Commission meeting minutes of October 10th, 2023?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. On our agenda this evening, are there any changes, Mr. Harrison?
No, sir.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as printed?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. On our consent agenda this evening, we will be pulling item number 4 and number 13. So 4 and 13 will be discussed individually. The remainder of the items on the consent agenda are eligible for discussion during audience to be heard. All right, that takes us up to a special recognition. Unfortunately, our sheriff, Sheriff Tony, believes he has COVID, so he can't be with us tonight. So, but the show will go on, and in his stead, of course, we have the undersheriff here, and she is here to take his place, not replace him, but take his place and do some recognition this evening. So, undersheriff, please take over. It's all you. Thank you.
Good evening. On a clarification, the sheriff is fine. He doesn't have COVID. He just had a medical procedure. So he's kind of under the weather right now. So we're going to pray his strength in the Lord and hope he gets better real soon.
Absolutely.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City staff, BSO personnel in attendance, and all of those who are in attendance tonight. It is my distinct pleasure to be here. On behalf of Sheriff Tony, I would like to thank you, all of those in the city of Pompano Beach, for this opportunity to recognize our employees and our partners in law enforcement for the excellent job that was done on the morning that we had our tragedy of our helicopter crash. It's one of those events that we will never forget. It's been memorialized as far as everyone seeing it on TV, and my heart goes out to those injured as well as those who perished. May we as a family, meaning City of Pompano Beach, the Broward Sheriff's Office, the Lighthouse Point Police Department, the Pompano Beach Fire Rescue, may we heal together and keep each other strong from this. With that being stated, I would like to acknowledge some exemplary individuals who sprang into action that morning, selfless actions without thought for their safety, but for the concern of those people that were trapped in the apartment, as well as the fire rescue personnel who were in the crash. Captain Daryl Stallings. If you could come. Captain Efren Torres. Lieutenant David Franks. Sergeant George Alonzo. Sergeant Alex Ordaz. Sergeant Alicia Galindez. Sergeant Greg Lose. Sergeant Mike Weiner. Sergeant Richard McGuire. Motorman Deputy Mitch Machado. Motorman Deputy Mike McCloskey. Motorman Deputy Mark Valaquette. And Sergeant Detective Andrew Giannino from the Lighthouse Point Police Department. It is my honor and pleasure. When we say hero, you know, our kids think of those superheroes. We have our superheroes that we see in the movies, but these are our real life heroes. Come in all different colors, meaning the BSO green, the Lighthouse Point black. You have the blue uniforms from other police departments, the brown uniforms from our state agencies, but these are our heroes. When things break bad, we call upon them. They answered the call of duty that morning without any thought of their own safety, running to make sure that people were taken to safety. I got the call and I kind of was in disbelief. And then I saw the video and I was like, this is out of a movie scene. This can't be real. So then I was waiting on the call to say, okay, you know, you just think, okay, everybody's gonna be okay. We're BSO, you know, we're gonna survive this. And when I got that call saying that we had one of our own that didn't make it, it was a humbling experience in that, you know, you never get used to losing employees. But to think, when I heard the stories about individuals running up and the blowback from the explosions knocking them down, actually one of our motormen took some shrapnel to his helmet. These are things where this could have been far more deadly than it actually turned out to be. But nonetheless, we thank God that we survived this and that we're able to have everyone to stand up here and be recognized. And on behalf of the sheriff, and I'm sure staff and the electeds from Pompano Beach, thank you for what you do on the daily, not just that day, but for what you go out there and do every day. You put everything on the line, and it is my humble pleasure to say thank you.
Mayor, is it okay if we move everybody to the dais and get some photographs with you all?
Absolutely. Yeah, back up, guys and girls. There we go.
Just stand in front of me.
If we could get Mayor Kyle Van Buskirk up here from Lighthouse Point, he's here also, representing Lighthouse Point. Kyle, come on. Yep. Yeah, we're all in this together. I mean, after all, come on. There you go. Very good. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate all that, and thank God that you guys and girls were all there that day, and hopefully we'll never have another reason to get together like this. All right. That takes us up. Let's see. That takes us up to a proclamation. Red Ribbon Week proclaimed by Mayor Hardin. Mayor Rex Hardin will proclaim October 23rd to October 31st, 2023 as Red Ribbon Week in the city of Pompano Beach. The PFC Bruce W. Carter MOH Young Marines will be actively participating in this nationally recognized illicit drug awareness event. The proclamation will be received by Adjunct Melissa Sauer on behalf of the Young Marines program. I'll be right over there. I can meet the representative. Is anyone here for the Red Ribbon Week? Nope. Okay. All right. Whereas communities across America have been plagued by the numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them. And whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, and that hope lies in education and drug demand reduction, coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as the Young Marines of the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. And whereas governments and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in the effort to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our communities. And whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Enrique Kiki Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty, and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts. And whereas October 23rd through 31st has been designated National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. Now, therefore, I'm Rex Hardin, Mayor of the City of Pompano Beach, on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim October 23rd through 31st, 2023, as Red Ribbon Week in the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, and urge all citizens to join me in this special observance, done this 24th day of October, 2023. Thank you all for participating in Red Ribbon Week. Thank you. All right, that takes us up to a special presentation. Economic Development Council Multimodal Task Force Final Report and Recommendations. Mr. Bosworth.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Earl Bosworth, Assistant City Manager. You're well aware of the important initiatives that the Economic Development Council has carried out for the city over the years. Tonight's presentation of the Multimodal Task Force Report is the latest of these significant projects. With us this evening is someone who needs no introduction, EDC Chair Tom DeGiorgio, who will kick off the presentation and then introduce our speaker, Carla Coleman, who chaired the task force.
Very good. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Earl. Appreciate that very much. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, and City Attorney, good to see you all tonight. I think I've spoke to most of you all about the importance of transportation in a growing city. So having a long-term multimodal transportation plan is the paramount importance of growing cities. As our population continues to grow, the need for efficient, sustainable, and accessible transportation becomes increasingly critical. A well-designed plan that incorporates multiple modes of transportation, such as trams, shuttles, cycling lanes, pedestrian walkways, etc., not only reduces traffic congestion and air pollution, but also enhances overall mobility and accessibility. It ensures the city can evolve to meet the challenging needs of its residents, support economic growth, and promote a higher quality of life. With that as a background, and many discussions with our P&Z Chair, Fred Stacer, we decided it was important to set up a task force. A task force is a little different in the committee because we have a start date and a sunset date, and we were so pleased to have Carla Coleman, who happens to be a city resident, member of the P&Z board, and actually one of the senior professionals of urban development in all of South Florida. She happens to be in our backyard, and she agreed to chair this committee. Just for those who don't know Carla, I want to read a little bit about her biography to see the importance that she brings to this committee and what she's going to, with the task force, and what she's going to do for the committee that I'll talk a little bit more about at the end. Carla is a 40-year resident of Pompano Beach. In 2016, Carla retired after more than a decade as the Urban Land Institute's executive director for Florida and the Caribbean. She continues to work on specific projects for Principal Coleman and Associates Consulting. Her career is long focused on strategic problem solving, especially in the fields of urban planning and redevelopment strategies. Past posts include 18 years with Florida Atlantic University, 13 as Senior Vice President for University Advancement. When appointed VP at the age of 38, she was one of only 3 female VPs in the university system. Carla joined FAU in 1984 to run the university's Governmental Policy Research Center, when its permanent director was on loan to the governor. She also spent almost a decade in various staff positions for the Florida legislature, including serving as executive director of Broward's first Governmental Efficiency Study Committee. The most important thing is that Carla's in our backyard, and she said yes when we asked her to chair this committee. So without further ado, and boring you more of the unbelievable bio here, because most of you all know her, I introduce Carla Coleman. Carla, thank you for all that you do for us all the time and on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I wish my mother was here to hear that. It was my pleasure to work with the other members of this committee. I know that your time is limited tonight, so I'm just going to hit a few highlights for you. This was a 15-member committee task force that the EDC put together with members from city staff, business owners here, as well as residents. And it was my pleasure to do that. And before I go any further, I just have to commend you on your staff who were appointed to this task force, showed up and worked, and they were outstanding. And it was my pleasure to get to know some of them just a little bit better. We only had 4 meetings last summer because, as Mr. DeGiorgio said, this was a task force. We wanted to identify the issues. Our mission was to identify the key issues and frame them for further action. Your staff was already working with Kimley Horn to try to pull together a scope for the city's very first transportation master plan. A city of our size desperately needs one, especially with all of the development that we're seeing going on, passing through the Planning and Zoning Board right now. And we wanted to make sure that this study included recognition of all modes of transportation here. Things we have now, things we may have in the future, but everything from pedestrians to kids riding their bikes to school to pedestrian cycling, cars, heavy trucks, trains, our intercoastal waterway issues, but there are some key issues we need to identify and work on early. I'm a little rusty on PowerPoints, guys. One of the things, timing's everything, and the city is still working with the scope for Kimley Horn, but they gave us an opportunity to meet as a task force with Kimley Horn at one of our meetings. We had spent a great deal of time working through the major issues that we as a group saw for transportation here, but there were some things specifically we wanted to see if they could include. I skipped a slide. Well, I'll go back to that. Include in that study, that was a bike plan for Pompano Beach. As one of our cyclists on the committee said, you can't get from A to B. You can go places, but you can't get from A to B. And as we are doing our major streets, thanks. Okay. The highest priorities for this committee were promoting safety. Our public safety representatives were very helpful in this area. And whatever transportation plan we come up with, its highest priority must be safety for all modes of transportation. There needs to be a way better integrate transportation into our built environment and our planning for our built environment. Right now, especially from a planning and zoning perspective, we see often, okay, there's been a traffic study for this, but how did it work after it was built, and was that traffic study accurate, and what else needs to happen to make it a workable grid? If we get this wrong, we get the transportation integration with the built environment wrong, all of our work will be for naught because you won't be able to go anyplace, at least not the way that you want to. So timing's everything. This is the time for that transportation master plan. And we also, as a task force, identified various ways that as a city we need to be more transparent, not only about what we're doing, but what we're planning. So, with Kimley Horn, we talked with them about a bike plan. We talked with them about creative funding ideas, because nothing comes cheap these days. These are items we wanted them to the city to at least talk to Kimley Horn about. We made it very plain to them that we were a task force. Their negotiations were with the city staff, and the city staff would have to figure out how much money we have to pay for certain things. But these were items that we thought, as a citizens group and a staff group, were important. Forward-thinking strategies. Don't just crunch numbers. Tell us how the best communities are dealing with this and how that's applicable here. Both short and long-term solutions. If you've ever dealt with transportation planners, they think 2060 is right around the corner. Well, we want some shorter-term timelines for some things, and resiliency requirements. We all know what that means these days. But there's a great deal that the task force came up with that are really not subjects for the Kimley Horn study. There are other things that we will be doing further work on, or someone will be doing further work on, that we identified as issues today that the city itself can deal with. One of those is, as you go through this process, there needs to be an identifiable point person for transportation. There needs to be a go-to person for transportation. I hesitate to call it a transportation czar, but we need someone identifiable in that area, so there's not a lot of this going on. There needs to be better communication, especially in the website. Our website right now, boy, do I know how hard websites are to get right, but it's not searchable. You can't find a lot of information about projects, and we don't want to be calling your staff all of the time saying, as a resident, well, what's going on with my street? They need to be able to go on a site and find out what are in the plans, what projects are up, and when their project is going to be at the top of the list. And once we have a bike plan, promotion of that is going to be very important. We've done a lot of work to encourage our new developers and new developments to make lots of room for bikes. Now we need to make lots of room on the streets for bikes. A strategy for intergovernmental, a better strategy for intergovernmental workings. We know we have issues with, well, let's just pull one out of the air, FEC. They don't want to be bitten by 100 little fleas, I hear. Well, fine. Let's pull the cities along the corridor together and speak with one voice. But, you know, until someone comes up with a framework for that, it's just another idea. Enhanced maintenance. This is going to become a huge issue going forward because as we make plans for bikes and pedestrians and cars and trucks and our streets become more complex, it's harder to maintain them at the level for each of those uses. The old budgets for maintenance have to be really reworked if the system is going to not only be put in right, but be functional as it goes forward. And last but not least, it's not going to be probably something Kimley Horn looks like anytime soon, but the city needs to be thinking about putting together a comprehensive parking plan for the city. I was introduced this evening to our parking czar, and I look forward to spending some time with him as this goes forward. But those are the major points that in 4 meetings we began to discuss. The report, the 3-page report that you have, lists all of the members of this task force and in greater detail the things we've talked about here. What's next? The task force recommended creation of a permanent study group and continuation of work on the issues that I've discussed here and the other ones that are outlined in our report. And I just want to thank all of you for allowing me to come tonight to speak to you about this and to thank you for allowing me to serve on the task force.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate that, Carl. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
I want to say appreciation, too, for this city. As some of you know, I'm the chair of the Planning Council, and I get stopped, and Rex serves on the Planning Council with me, and we get stopped often about how our city staff works so closely with the business community. And I have to say, it's really a reflection on you, Ms. City Manager, and your whole executive team. They did a fantastic job on this committee, on this task force with Carla, and we're going to ask more of them too, because on every standing committee that we set up at the EDC, we have members, senior members of staff that actually volunteer to participate, and we've got several of the city managers that are stepping up and going to serve on this task. So with that, I'd just like to tell you about the action we took based on those recommendations at our Economic Development Council meeting last night. We set up a long-term multimodal strategic planning committee. That committee is going to be chaired, again, we're very fortunate, I kind of hit you with the punchline early, Carla said, agreed to stay on as the chair for 1 more year. Up to 1 more year, she said. Up to, but
Okay.
We'll see. We're going to have Earl, our assistant city manager, say he's going to stay on board with that. We're going to have public safety representatives, and I happen to, I think I volunteered, the Major and Captain Torres last night at our meeting, that we're going to stay on for public safety. Public works representatives, we're going to have zoning representatives there. We're also going to have our Northwest CRA chair, Whitney's going to stay on board. Jack Rogerson from the East CRA is going to stay on board with this. We're going to have 2 members from the Economic Development Council. We're going to have 2 representatives from the city at large, just residents who are concerned that served on the task force with us. And then we'll add additional members as we see fit. For instance, Jeff, who we talked about with parking, he's going to come and help us understand that piece of the puzzle. But I just think it's so important right now where we're considering big things in Pompano Beach and big developments. We don't want to be accused of not thinking about the little things like how we get from A to B, how we make sure the quality of life stays high and gets better for our citizens. And transportation is the key to that. And this multimodal task force will be there for the foreseeable, or I said task force, but the multimodal committee will be there for the foreseeable future, like the tourism subcommittee is, like the education subcommittee, the resiliency, and the public safety. So with that, I just want to say thank you for everything you do for the city, and thanks to your staff, Mr. City Manager, for everything they do.
Thank you, Mr. DeGiorgio. Appreciate it. And I just want to say this is not the end of the road, but this is the culmination of a lot of discussions we have had throughout the years. And I mean, thank you all for what you guys are doing. But this is a step in a long progression that we've been involved in for years. We knew early on that we were going to have growing pains. When we started the whole redevelopment process of Pompano Beach. And we knew, in fact, I think it was you, Mr. DeGiorgio, said, well, people were complaining, well, what are we going to do about the traffic? Well, back in the days that we were having those kinds of discussions, there was no traffic. And you said, well, look, let's get some traffic first, and then we'll deal with it, which that's true. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? But we have been looking at this for so long, knowing that it was on the horizon, and it is still on the horizon, but it's here now. Bigger things are on the horizon, and that's why it's great that we are taking this step. And thank you so much. I mean, this is really what the city needs. And I know that the city looks at all this kind of stuff, and as each individual development comes forward, we, of course, have worked with the developers to try and talk about and work on the issues that development brings to our city as far as transportation and problems with transportation. And some developers do more than others. Some are willing to step up and participate, and some aren't. So we need a better process for that kind of stuff. And I think this task force and the committee is just fantastic. I mean, and Mr. Harrison, I'm sure, considering that the personnel that's on it, we're going to be 100% behind this, because it's not just a volunteer committee. I mean, this is something that really needs to have teeth. I mean, we need to have, access to people like the Kimley Horns. I mean, there's going to be costs involved in this going forward. So it's critically important for the future of our city. Thank you all so much for what and Carla, I mean, I know Mr. DeGiorgio, he just barely touched on the surface with your resume, but we are indeed fortunate and lucky to have somebody with your background and caliber to be on for at least a year. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any further commission discussion? Vice Mayor.
I think this is a great points brought up, having a point person and continuing to look at this and really get organized. I know we've all had many, many different talks, and you guys know how passionate I am about making transportation that works happen in this city and this county and even further. But it's definitely a great, I know we've all been talking about this, it's been in the works, and we constantly are looking on this, but this just takes it to the next level. And again, thank you to all that's involved so much for giving your time to help make the city better. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And seriously, I mean, that deserves repeating. Thank you guys for doing what you do. I mean, we have got such incredible volunteer talent throughout this city, and it really shows. It shows in what we've got as a city. So thank you very much. Further, Commissioner Fournier.
Just quickly, thank you, Carla. Thank you, Tommy. I do know it is volunteer work, and I appreciate all the effort that went into this. With respect to traffic, I think we are there. So we are at that point, if not past it, where it is important to be having these conversations. We need to consider bikes. We need to consider golf carts. I get a lot of questions about golf carts and how we can make our city more friendly for those modes. Parking is obviously top of mind for people. And I also think we just need to ensure as we go through this that we're honest with ourselves about the limitations of those types of transportation also, and the reliance on cars in this city too. So thank you, Carla.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Look forward to working together. Absolutely. All right, that takes us up to audience to be heard. Kervin, do we have anyone signed up for audience to be heard?
Yes, Mayor. We have 9 speakers.
9 speakers. Very good.
Yes. First speaker, V. Goldfitter, followed by Mary Phillips, followed by Glinda Kawano.
Very good. Just please come forward to the main podium here. Just name and address for the record.
My name is Avi Goldfetter. I reside at 4948 Northeast 19th Avenue in the Pompano Highlands. And so the first couple of questions are asked to me by a couple residents off Dixie by 24th, some residents in Crest Haven, some people in the Highlands, and they want to know if you actually took a poll on who wants the stadium lights on one side. And then off of Dixie, there's some entire neighborhoods that don't have any light. So I don't know how we can talk about safety for pedestrians if we can't even get the basics like functional street lights on. And I'm going to go talk about some questions that just came up with that presentation about who's funding it and why a lot of these things that seem to come out of World Economic Forum, globaldesigningscities.org, and a couple others always talk about focus on the contention points without getting drawn into discussing extraneous issues, or, let's see, new nature reserves can be formed to mitigate damage caused by new roads, displaced populations can be moved to housing of higher standards. All right, so that's good in theory, and I'm gonna throw these words back. God forbid it takes 5 minutes longer. I just don't see that as a reason to throw away all the redevelopment and chances for success for the rest of the community, said Eaton, adding that the project is meant to change behavior. And about the multimodal transportation thing that we got. Here we go. The city is striving to create a modal shift in transportation choices and reduce automobile congestion, thereby reducing greenhouse gas emissions, safety of drivers, pedestrians, and bicyclists, and calming traffic in neighborhoods are all considered critical elements in implementing the overall objective of realizing a significant modal shift during this 15-year planning horizon. And I forget if that's Global Designing Cities or the 137-page smart design that Pompano put out, or one of the others. It's been quite a while. And to close, I wonder if I could get a couple of seconds on the overhead projector.
No, sir. No.
Okay, then that's too bad. I've got a picture of something called chicanes, and I guess they're called for traffic calming in America. And I see something similar in low traffic neighborhoods in UK. A foundation of barriers blocking the road, preventing traffic, and with the intent and purpose of creating car-free zones. And so if you wonder why we got some 300-unit complexes with 200 parking spaces, it's pretty clear that getting people out of their cars, whether they want to or not, is on the agenda. And so I call official malfeasance on stuff like that. Keep Pompano for the people that live here. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your input. Next speaker.
Mary Phillips.
Mary Phillips, 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach, Florida, 33060. I'm very happy that somebody's finally taking a look at our traffic situation, because it's already starting on 3rd Avenue. The cars are backed up. So I'm happy that they're looking at that, and hopefully we can move forward and do some great things to make it easier for people to move around in Pompano Beach. I just want to say to Charles Rizzuto, he is with the building department, that he's been very helpful with some of my clients, helping them to get the permits closed on their house. I'm very pleased with that department, because now you can actually communicate with them. When you call them, they return calls, they respond, they take the time to walk you through the process of getting permits open and closed. So I just want to give a shout out to the building department. They are doing a terrific job. However, with the water department, I have a few issues. I have some clients that have houses on 4th Avenue, and what's happened is one of my clients said that the water bill was turned off by mistake. She had to call them to request that they turn it back on. And then one of my other clients, he paid the water bill. They were told that the water would have been turned on that same day. The water was not turned on that same day. It was turned on the next day. I just want to say that water is an essential service, just like FP&L. And I don't think anybody should go without water, because, I mean, when I called the department, the guy said we can't go out on Fridays because the city has an ordinance that we can't go out on Fridays to turn the water on. I mean, maybe the schedule should be a rotating schedule when it comes to water, because just like your electric, you shouldn't go without electric because the city is shut down on a Friday. Water is just like your electric bill. So could you imagine if there is a holiday? So now instead of your water being off for 2 days, it might be off for 4. So I think that it would behoove you all to look into that, because that's very important. That has to do when you might have children, you might have a senior citizen in that house, you might have somebody that's sick in that house, and now they got to go with water for a couple of days because you have an ordinance that on Fridays they can't turn the water on. But I don't know what's going on in that department, but making mistakes on turning people's water off is a problem. I don't know if maybe it's short staff, is that the problem that the guys are having? But something needs to be done about that. And if you all can look into that, so that service is a better service for our community, I would really appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Appreciate it. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening. My name is Gilda Caguano, and I am a business manager for San Isidro Church here in Pompano Beach. And I'm going to bring to your attention a situation that we just noticed is in our backyard, the rear parking lot. And we noticed that there's a neighbor that is doing some sort of disposing their water through a PVC pipe through our property that seems to be dirty water, sewer water. We don't know, we can identify, but a lot of flies and a lot of bugs are flying around, and the smell. And we have children that play in that area, so we're concerned about that. Another situation is that there seems to be the easements of the properties are being used by the neighbors to dispose their unwanted, and some of them had even removed their easements. So with that situation, we understand that also there's a lot of hazardous material in those disposing those easements, as well as the limitations of the properties are in question. As a matter of fact, there's a property in our, one of our neighbors that we will really appreciate if the city goes and do some measurements to ensure that they really have, the limits is within their property and not in our property. The other issue is about, and we had reported several times to the city, is that we are next door to our father's house, and they feed, people hungry. So some of the people park in the sidewalk, but on the grass, and there are trucks sometimes, and those trucks had made big holes in the entrance of our property. So when it rains, it fills up with water, and people don't notice, and they fall in that hole, trying to get into our church premises. So I wanted to bring all this attention. I'm sorry, maybe it's the first time the church comes and brings these issues to the city, but I think it's important to take care of this.
Absolutely. So now you have been in contact with code enforcement? Or
Law enforcement, we have
code
not.
enforcement, our code compliance, If you could just look in the back, Mr. Mario he's raising his hand. If you can get with him, because somebody draining water onto your property and stuff like that, yeah, get with Mario and see what we can do about it.
Okay,
All right?
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is Jocelyn Jackson, followed by Ed Phillips, followed by Jacqueline Inan.
Just name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Jocelyn Jackson. I just want to bring to the attention to the residents, as I said before, with the first-time home buyers program, for them to come out and take advantage of it. The first-time home buyers program, that will be with Miriam Carilla and Alex. I think he's over there. Raise your hand, Alex. Take advantage of the program. It's an awesome program. It's a lot of opportunities gonna be coming before the commission, a lot of development, and I'm just really stressing the residents take advantage of the opportunity. They're there to help. The market is going up, guys, so I can't stress it more. Please take advantage of the opportunity for the first-time home buyers program. And I'm always around, so if you see me, you can ask myself. I will be willing to assist. Take advantage of the program. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. Next speaker.
Ed Phillips.
Mayor, Commissioners, I want to first say I'm only here because my wife had to come down, but since she's here and she came down and I was supportive, I'm going to make a few comments. My name is Ed Phillips. I currently reside at 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach, Florida. Mayor, Commissioners, let me tell you, I was very much impressed, and I do support the initiative of the, what is that program, the Nodal
Task Force?
Yeah, let me get it right. The Multimodal Task Force report. But as I looked at that, I hope this is just a template that will be tweaked as we go along, because I must tell you, although the report is acceptable, it will not be fully acceptable to me until some of those folks ride down some of our streets in the morning when folks are trying to go to work, and the evening when folks are trying to come home. When they get a realistic view of what the traffic really is causing, and the problems and the issues and the time that it takes to get from one place to the other. And the reason I say that, Mayor, is because if we have an issue like that now, because of the kinds of initiatives that we're going to be taking in the future, it is going to quadruple the traffic. Yes, there are going to be some bike initiatives. Yes, it is. But that in itself will not solve the transportation problem. Now, having said that, on to the next thing. Mayor, we're pretty much concerned about roads, the paving of some of these roads that we needed the drainage initiatives, but we need these roads paved back. We'd like to know, most of us who've had this drainage issue, would like to know if there's a timetable or a plan of some sort to start repaving these roads. So if you could look into that, the community, the folks in the area would like to know that as soon as possible. It is a little bit discomforting, but it's something that I know we had to do because of the work that needed to be done, but we'd like to still see something happen from that. Now, I must tell you, I can't speak on it. I'm not going to stay here long, but I do, and I did look at item number 6, and I can't talk on item number 6, but it is paired with some of the transportation initiative. I would also ask this commission, all of you who can, within this structure, there's a City Pompano Beach Title 6 programs. You should look at this thing. It is very, very informative. It says where a lot of money is and where it goes, and it gives us the opportunity to ask questions, and in my particular case, to ask for some money to be in some areas that we deem important to us. So having said that, Mayor, I won't be around long, but I hope that you've heard what I've said. And to this commission, I think thus far you got your hands full. You got a bunch of stuff that's about to start happening. Please pay attention as best you can and tweak where you can to make sure that we're all happy. Thank you. Bye.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Phillips, and I will ask someone to give you a telephone call on the paving. Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker, Jacqueline Billion, followed by David Hall, followed by Nancy Olson.
Good evening. Just name and address for the record, please.
Jacqueline Bland, 651 Southeast 6th Terrace, Pompano Beach. So I'm here to discuss the new lights that are going to be put in place. We had a lot of posting around our neighborhood and garden aisles regarding the stadium lights. I did drive down myself through Leisureville, Cresthaven, where everybody has been complaining. And I really want you guys, I know there's an extension for the streetscape lighting that you guys need. Hopefully you guys take that extension to take into consideration the residents. And we don't want those lights. I know Allison mentioned she hadn't heard anybody from Garden House, or here I am, along with many people. We don't need this. We don't need, I want security, and I do think some of the lights maybe could be replaced so we don't have such darkness, but we don't need to be a Target parking lot. I love Target, don't need to live there, and I don't need it to be an airport tarmac where, you know, all the planes that do fly by, I think that can be a landing spot. So please take a look into it. We don't need so many lights, and I know this is a built-in one kind of light system. I wish the procurement department would have looked at other options, maybe where the light bulb could have been replaced, versus now having to replace a whole fixture, which is going to be more costly to us. So, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate
Mayor,
it.
can I say something on this topic?
Sure, absolutely,
It
Commissioner.
has been a topic of conversation, and I think it's important to talk about it. Thank you so much for coming out and speaking about it. It's on a lot of people's minds in garden aisles, and what we're talking about are the new designed streetlights that are scheduled to come into garden aisles over the next year or so. I do not want to change the character of our neighborhood. And I think we have to be really, really careful with that. We already have lights in Garden Isles. Some of the neighborhoods that have these lights now didn't have lights before, but we already have a certain baseline that we are used to in our neighborhood. So I first would encourage anyone who lives in Garden Isles to drive, whether you think you want the lights or not, to educate yourself. So to drive through Crest Haven at night, because those are the same size and style of lights that we're talking about bringing into our neighborhoods. It would be the same poles. So I think it's important to understand what's being considered. I have been in touch with the city on this topic. When I first was elected, the design wasn't in place, but now they have continued with the design, so we know what is being proposed, and it is an awful lot of lights. So I personally believe that these are too tall, and the color and intensity of these lights is too bright for it to feel neighborhoody. So I think while the city has a desire to standardize lights across every neighborhood, I don't really think one size necessarily fits all. I don't think the lights that are on Dixie Highway belong in Garden Isles. So I think we need to work with the city, and we will, to determine if there is some other solution that fits into the neighborhoods, because one size I don't think fits all, and we need to find something that's maybe more appropriately sized for our neighborhoods. I have been in conversations with the city about postponing any decisions on this so that we have time to get input from residents. So I think this is the great time, like I said, to go drive through the other neighborhoods that have them, educate yourself on what they are, so we can start a dialogue and start hearing from residents about what they want in the neighborhoods. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Next speaker.
David Hall, followed by Nancy Olson. Okay, thank you. Nancy Olson.
Hello, Nancy Olson, 2722 Northeast 3rd Street, Pompano Beach, 33062. I wanted to say thank you to the city of Pompano Beach. The Sand and Spurs Park looks phenomenal. I've listened to the community through these meetings, and I'm getting involved in politics. I enjoy listening to the community, and I believe the park can do a lot of good for the community. I'm in the works of my first event. I have my flyer here. I hope I can give one to you, Mayor. Mm-hmm. It will be this Sunday, the 29th, and many more after that. I'm including, for the community to improve relationships in the community and help with what I've heard. There's been a lot about suicides. There's so many topics that I've learned through coming to these meetings. So I'm hoping the park will be a big benefit for all of those things. And I will plan those events. I wanted to say thank you very much, and I'm learning the ropes. It's my first event, so I'm learning how to organize it. And I'm just learning about the stage and that it has portable speakers. And when we have outdoor events, those portable speakers can't be heard, really in an outdoor setting, especially if it's windy and if it's across the ring from one side to the other, the audience can't hear what's being said on the stage. And I'm learning how much it costs to hire a DJ, which I have for this event, and I'm gladly to put my money towards a good cause and for the city of Pompano Beach and all that has been done to improve the park as well. But if I have to do that every time for an event, and if it's not myself, and if it's the city even, every month you put on Music Under the Stars or what have you, and you have to hire the extra sound system, I was curious why we wouldn't just buy our own speakers instead of every month having to hire, an outside sound system. So that's a question I just wanted to ask. Glad to give DJs business too, but I was curious why we wouldn't own our own speakers on the stage. Okay, that's question number one. Then I have my neighborhood, Harbor Village, love it. Thank you, Vice Mayor, I'm glad to know you're my commissioner. And thank you, by the way, for attending the board meetings at Sand and Spurs and, involvement. Can't say enough thanks to Rhonda Eaton for helping. It's her district and how much we've improved the park together by painting. Allison, oh, my 3 minutes are up? Shoot, well, thank you. I didn't get to the other topics, but thank you for Sand and Spurs.
Very good, thank you. Appreciate that. Next speaker.
Speaker Marquis Smith.
Good afternoon. My name is Marquis Smith. My address is 512 Northwest 10th Avenue, Pompano Beach. Okay, so I'm speaking on the water issue, the water utilities. I had my water bill on auto pay, so I never paid attention to it. In the last 6 months, I had to take care of my mom. She was dealing with cancer. So I was looking at the water bill, and I noticed that I'm really not home. I'm mostly with her, that the water bill is $80 without using an ounce of water. So I called the utility bill, and they told me that these are the fees, and that's just what it is. And I just found that was very ridiculous of the charges when they charging me store that I'm not using anything. I compared it to the city of Fort Lauderdale as well as the city of Coral Springs, and the fees are half. So I'm just curious of how the city of Pompano come up with their fees to charge for sewer. And I understand you have fees or whatever, but to charge $80 without using an ounce of water, I think that's a little bit extreme.
Well, I mean, we're happy to go through your bill with you. I mean, not us, but I mean, administration is happy to go through your bill with you and explain all the charges. I'm not sure what all is on your bill, but.
It's no usage at all.
But
none.
Okay, because normally your water bill also includes garbage and stormwater fees. Or was it just the water?
With all the fees, just fees total is 80.
Okay.
And then I compared it to my grandmother's and my aunt's. Theirs is like 100 and something, and mine's is 80 without using anything.
Okay,
So-
well, I know there are set baseline charges that,
I understand the baseline charges, but comparing to the city of Fort Lauderdale, they waive, like, if you're not using water usage, then they can't charge you sewer, they just charge you the base price. So I'm being charged for sewer and I'm not even using water.
okay, well, I mean, I'm not familiar with what Fort Lauderdale does. Perhaps you can get with the city manager's office and discuss it with him, Mr. Harrison, or his designee. I'm sure there's somebody, Mr. Bosworth or Mr. Donovan, can go through the bill with you, and we can look at what Fort Lauderdale does. Honestly, I don't know what.
No, I was just comparing like between the two cities and just giving you like the difference. And the other cities, like my mom's home's in Coral Springs, so it's like I'm never home, I'm not using anything, and for me to just like it's $80, like that was like whoa. But I never looked at it because it was on auto pay.
Well, I hear you, but like I said, city administration can go through the bill with you and identify all those things. And if you want to discuss with them as far as what Fort Lauderdale does, I'm not familiar with that. If there's something we can adopt to make the.
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why I was getting at. Yes.
That's, we're open to suggestions, absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Donovan, yes, that gentleman right there, if you could get with him, he can talk with you about it a little bit. That's all right?
Okay,
Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes audience to be heard.
Very good, thank you for that. All right, that takes us up to our consent agenda. Can I get a motion approving items 1 through 3, 5 through 12, and 14?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Item number 4 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, condemning the brutal, barbaric, inhumane, and unprovoked attack on the State of Israel by Hamas, supporting the State of Israel's right to defend itself, urging the President and Congress to provide emergency assistance to the State of Israel, providing an effective date.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second for discussion. I pulled this item. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Berman, for preparing it. It's something I asked to be put on the agenda. I think it speaks for itself what it outlines, that basically Hamas, which has been declared a terrorist organization, is conducting acts of terror, which is inhumane and loss of life, and should be condemned. Which that's why I had this put on there. That's really all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Berman. I appreciate it. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue, Pompano Beach. I am 100% for this resolution. Jewish people have been persecuted over thousands of years, more than any other group of people in this country and the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, please let the gentleman speak. Thank you.
World War II, over 6 million Jewish people were maimed, killed, and tortured. Does anybody have any arguments over that?
Ladies and gentlemen, please let the man speak.
In 1948, Israel finally became a state surrounded by rogue nations, and they've consistently had to defend themselves for years on end. Now, I do feel sorry for what is going on to the Palestinians, but they are surrounded in their area by a bunch of terrorists. Just like 9/11, just like Pearl Harbor, the Israelites must defend themselves, and they will.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Next speaker. Just name and address to the record, please.
I am actually Jewish, and I'm tired.
Please, can we have quiet so we can hear the speakers? Thank you. Go ahead. Your name?
My name is Alexis. The clock needs to be started over.
Sure, I'll let you go over.
It was paused.
I am actually Jewish, and I'm tired of people like that speaking for me. Okay, all of my family either died or survived the Holocaust on every single side. My step-grandfather, who is 98 years old, goes around lecturing about the Holocaust. So we're not going to sit here and pretend Jewish people are the most oppressed people in the world when there's lots of black people sitting in this room. We're not going to do that. And then we're not going to sit here and say that Hamas committed an unwarranted attack on Israel. We walked into their homes and stole their homes in 1948. Okay, Jewish people have been in Europe longer than Christianity has existed. That is our home. We haven't lived in Israel in thousands of years. We walked in there in 1948 and stole their homes. They have every right to fight back and try to get their homes back. And now that they have fought back, we are genociding them. Israel is genociding Palestinians. There is nothing anyone can say that pretends Israel has had it worse than Palestine. We have cut off all aid to Palestine. They have no electricity, they have no water, they have no food. We are bombing residential neighborhoods and decimating them to the ground. And we want to use our funding for that? And then someone comes up here and talks about suicide. You know what the #1 cause of suicide in this country is? People can't afford their bills anymore. People can't afford their rent. People can't afford their water or electricity. There are so many homeless people, and we're going to take our funds and support genocide? Every single year, coming up is Kristallnacht in November, and we say never again. We have no right to say never again when we are committing genocide in the name. We're not in our name. You have no right to commit genocide in our name. I am tired of hearing we're committing genocide for the Jews. Plenty of Jews stand against what is happening to Palestine right now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record.
Hey, my name is Tiffany. I live in Miramar, but I'm standing here in solidarity with what Alexis just said. I am a core organizer with the Black Futures Alliance. So when I was here before, it was when Greg Frazier was actually killed by the local police in Pompano. So I'm here, and also after George Floyd co-organize a protest right here in Pompano with the local pastor. So I'm committed to justice. So what the gentleman said about Jewish people, like 6 million being massacred, we have to talk about 60 million Black people being massacred in the slave Atlantic Okay. So that's important to mention as well too. But today I'm talking about what's going on right now in Palestine, right? So you can't say that attack was unprovoked when there has been history of 7 decades of Palestinian people facing persecution from Israeli people in Palestine. So you have people that have been bombed, have been displaced for several generations, and like she said, you cannot send aid to Israel when they're actively committing genocide on innocent civilians. This is not a war against one military to another. Palestine does not have a military. They do not have an army. So the bombings are happening to churches, they're happening at hospitals, they're happening in people's homes. Children are being murdered and massacred. So just like we deserve to have safe roads and safe transportation and all those things, people in Palestine deserve those same things too. And right now, those are being bombed. So they're telling people to evacuate, they're bombing the roads. So where do people go? So it's not right that we're sending resources where average people like me and Alexis are actually trying to send humanitarian aid, not war aid, over there. It needs to be peace. There needs to be justice. There needs to be a ceasefire. That's what Palestinians are calling for. That's what elected officials across the country are calling for, an immediate ceasefire. That's what we should be talking about. If we're talking about justice and people wanting to be safe, people in Pompano who live in Pompano deserve to be safe. People who live in Palestine deserve to be safe. People in Israel, too, deserve to be safe as well too. But all life is important. So you can't say an Israeli life is more important than a Palestinian life, because Palestinian people are oppressed by Israel. They control the markets, they bomb the Gaza Strip airport. So everything is being controlled by Israel right now. And it's not right to send more war aid when what is really needed is humanitarian aid. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record.
Ihab Al-Damagh, 2215 Cypress Island Drive, Pompano Beach 33069. As my understanding from the bill, from the resolution, is that this mainly condemn the killing of civilians. So I think if we're gonna condemn killing of civilians, we should condemn killing civilians on both parts, on both sides.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let the gentleman speak.
I understand that this resolution gonna pass, but I request to be adding to it that the city of Pompano Beach have a concern concerning the high toll of civilian casualties. It's not a perfect example, but let's say if we took if a Mexican cartel came across from Mexico to Arizona, and they killed about 500 of our American brethren, does that give us the right to wipe out city of Mexico? Does that give us the right to drop 12,000 tons of bombs in 2 weeks? That does give us the right to destroy 52,000 residential units. That does give us the right to cut the power on hospitals where there are incubators that have babies. That does give us the right to cut food and water and fuel from them. I just think that if we're going to condemn civilian casualties, we should condemn them on both sides. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Next speaker. Name and address for the record.
David Hall, 290 Southeast 8th Court. I think I heard the mayor say that he was against all killing and the suffering on both sides in that proclamation. So it is possible for things to be true at the same time, two different things. Yes, black people have suffered in this country and around the world, and we had a horrible start to how they came to this country. That's true, that's indisputable. But it's also true what was said about 6 million Jews being killed in the Holocaust. They are some of the most persecuted people on this planet. And I don't know at any time has Israeli forces or Israeli people gone in and cut open the bellies of pregnant women and stabbed babies while they're attached to the umbilical cord and then shot them in the head. There are 400 plus Hamas rockets because they're not capable of making fully functioning rockets that have exploded in their own land, including into a hospital parking lot. There are numerous
Ma'am,
examples.
I'm going to ask you to please be quiet. This is your first warning. Thank you. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to be quiet. This is your second warning. Thank you. Go ahead.
There are numerous examples, including interrogations of captured Hamas soldiers talking about how they got their cell phones and they're live streaming back, "Dad, please be proud of me. I killed 6 Jews with my hands. My bare hands, I killed them." That's their words. That's their words. So when they're giving them drugs and these Hamas terrorists are going in, and that's all documented, they have it from interrogations of them live streamed, and they're live streaming murdering people in their homes in Israel. Anyone that can come up and defend these animals deserve no thought or care or concern of what they're asking for. These people who have done this are absolutely filthy. And yes, if someone came into this country and did the equivalent of, stop the clock.
Please, can we escort this lady out? Ma'am, I'm asking you to please go out in the outside areas. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. And I am not condemning an entire race. I'm condemning the people who cut open pregnant women's bellies. So that's exactly what we're talking about. We're not talking about the poor Palestinians who live there and are going to have to suffer the fact that Hamas hides in their houses, won't let them evacuate. And oh, by the way, Jordan and Egypt won't even accept the Palestinians escaping their country. They say, "Stay, we don't even want you." So it's a horrible situation. But to try to equivocate or to conflate the two different sides is absolutely reprehensible. To justify or try to come up with any way to say that those people and what they've done in Hamas and Hezbollah and what they're doing equates to anything anyone else has done is just a fallacy, and it's pure and simple anti-Semitism.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Name and address for the record, sir.
Vincente Thrower, born and raised in Pompano Beach, 3rd generation, so I got a right to speak. Understand? Ma'am, I'm gonna say it again, 3rd generation, I have a right to say what I wanna say. Some of y'all have moved here from other states, and y'all think y'all have a right to say something. We have a right to say this is our city. My grandparents and great-grandparents founded. Hey, we are here. And man, you better have them on television because, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Until he gave a correction, he was giving a hate speech just now. Until he corrected himself, I was ready to blow him out the water because everything he said, calling people names, you wouldn't let us get away with that. To talk trash like that. We couldn't dare say we hate people, call them bastards and this and that on public television. This is live. We don't have no decorum on what we say these days. We can just say what we want to say. And you all are the elected officials and say that it's okay to do it under our brand. And then this idiot who always runs against you for mayor, one of the council members, y'all sit up there and think that that's appropriate for him to act like. Do you know how many African Americans were hanged and burned and Emmett Till in this country? Where's the resolution supporting our suffering? Do we come here and burden y'all and we elect every last one of y'all and support your agenda? So today, for anybody to have any criticism to what we say, that's garbage. Our parents were here when your parents got here, we were here. I do not condone what happened over there. But what we will not condone is a bunch of people who ain't never been born and raised in Pompano Beach to come up here and act like they're gonna put us on the market to fight their battles. That ain't acceptable, Mayor. You represent us, and don't forget it. It ain't the federal government, you represent what we want. And this council need remember that.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Please come forward. Just name and address for the record, please.
Jocelyn Jackson. I sympathize what's going on over with the fight, but I also sympathize of the residents here with the gun violence that we have and the tormenting going on in our city. And I never seen a resolution. I don't know who approved this to be on the agenda, the process. Yes, and I find it offensive because we struggling in our own city with gun violence. We struggling right here, man, right here, we struggling with gun violence. African Americans being murdered. And the corner stores are still open for business. We got to clean at our house before we able to assist anyone else in their house.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. Next speaker. His name and address to the record.
Sarah Peterson, 4354 Northwest 9th Avenue. I wasn't going to say anything, but this resolution is very divisive because we have so many viewpoints on this, so many different perspectives. And if you watching the news or any social media, depending on which side you're watching from, they'll tell a story and each side is bad. I think this resolution divides a city that's already trying to come together, as we just saw. And as much as I would like for us to send a message of where we stand as a city, we don't even stand together as a city. We have work we need to do to bring us together, and I really hope that this resolution has some conversation amongst the dais because I think it is a very split feeling of where people stand with this, not in support or out of support, but how can we stand here after what we just saw? Some people just here for the first time and seeing something like we have this going on every night. This is showing that we are not together on this resolution, and I hope you all have some conversation about what does this say about the city and the people who are speaking tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Any further public input? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns, comments. Commissioner Fournier.
So I have a couple reactions to this. First, there were some comments about money or funding, and I just want to clarify that there is no allocation of money or funding associated with this. This is a resolution condemning the attack in Israel. So there's no money behind this. I think we need to be careful with these equivalencies. History is full of horrendous, violent, disgusting acts, and that includes our American history. So that is, I don't think anyone would argue that. For me, the entire situation in Israel and Palestine is a tragedy right now. I wish the wording of this had something about humanitarian aid, because I think that's part of this that's missing right now, and it's a struggle for all of us to watch right now, what's going on. But I also really agree with Sarika. You said what I think when I see things like this. I feel like these type of resolutions are just unnecessarily divisive for our city, and we have enough to tackle here. So while I support condemning terrorism, I just think that in general, maybe we should stay out of some of these issues. Those are my thoughts.
Very good. Thank you. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, thank you for that. Item number 13 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, designating the dock located at the Sergeant Chris Rica Memorial Park as the Dockswell Water Taxi Dock, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. I pulled this item. I just felt that it deserved a little extra attention based upon what it is and the history of the gentleman who is being named and his impact on this city, and particularly the impact on the city and the area where this dock resides. As most of us know, Barry Dockswell, he was a city commissioner representing District 1. He came again on the dais, and during his time, he really was, of course, not solely responsible, but he was a very large driving force in the renaissance that is now Pompano Beach. And I just thought I wanted to pull it just so we could say, once again, thank you to Barry Dockswell for what he's done, and appreciate it, and look forward to a lot more stuff from him, even though he's retired from the commission. But he's still part of our community, and I know he is out there and always willing to help in almost any regard. So that's all I've got. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Vice Mayor.
Yep, I'm very excited to support this item. I think it's great. Commissioner Dockswell did so much to, fight for the parking garage, which we know is instrumental in everything right now. We're trying to get another one, and bringing all the restaurants and everything that we've done to the District 1. And I'm very proud to be able to continue what he started and making it great. So, and I do also really think it's very apropos, the Dockswell dock.
Very good. Further commission discussion. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, thank you for that. That takes us up to our regular agenda. Items 15 through 19 are quasi-judicial in nature. Mr. Berman will discuss the procedures. Mr. Berman?
Thank you, Mayor. If anyone wishes to testify on items number 15 through 19, they must be sworn in and may be subject to cross-examination by the City Commission or by interested parties. Individuals addressing the City Commission should state their name and whether they have been sworn. City staff will make its presentation first, followed by the applicant and anyone else who wishes to testify. Following the concluding remarks of the applicant, the hearing will conclude, and the commission will make its consideration. All those who wish to testify on items number 15 through 19, please stand at this time. Raise your right hand, and the city clerk will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence or testimony that you're going to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Very good. Item 15 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, rezoning property lying south of Copans Road and west of Federal Highway and commonly known as the City Center Mall from B3/PCD planned commercial development to a modified B3/PCD planned commercial development, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. At this time, I'd like to put on the record that I have had ex parte communications concerning these matters with the developer and their representatives.
Mayor?
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton?
Yes, I'd like to disclose that I have had ex parte communications with the developer and his agent as well.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
Yes, I'd also like to disclose I've had ex parte communications with the developer and their agent.
Very good. Mr. Berman, you wanted to say something?
I just want to get on the record the nature of the communications was also, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Was just, their plans, what they're just showing me what their thoughts were.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Same here.
Yeah.
Emails, information, exchange.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Dolan?
Thank you, Mayor. Commission, Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is the second reading to change the boundary of the City Center PCD to remove the 12.1-acre parcel designated on the land use plan as residential in 2021, so it can be rezoned to RM30 to enable a 356-unit residential development. There have been no changes since first reading, and both myself and the applicant are present if you have any additional questions.
Very good. Does the applicant wish to make any presentation or just here for questions? Questions only. Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss, Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 16 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, rezoning property lying on the south side of Copans Road, west of Federal Highway, commonly known as a portion of the City Center Mall site, from B3 PCD General Business Plan Commercial Development to RM30 Multifamily Residence 30, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, I'd like to put on the record, I've had ex parte communications with the applicant and their representatives concerning this development and their plans. you.
I did as well, Mayor.
Seegerson-Eaton?
Ditto.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
I'm going to chime in as well.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for that. Ms. Dolan?
Thank you again, Mayor. Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is the second reading and the rezoning of the 12.1-acre parcel of the City Center Mall in accordance with its residential land use designation approved in 2021. There have been no changes since first reading, and staff and the applicant are both available if you have any additional questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. Does the applicant wish to make any presentation or simply here for questions? Questions only. That's great. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss. Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 17 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, abandoning two 10-foot wide rights-of-way locations on the west side of Northeast 26th Avenue and a 5-foot wide right-of-way on the east side of Northeast 26th Avenue, north of Northeast 13th Street, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening again, Ms. Dolan.
Thank you, Mayor. Jean Dolan, Development Services. This request is for the abandonment of excess right-of-way along Northeast 26th Avenue, north of the Northeast 13th Street. A resident who owns one of the 8 lots adjacent to this portion of Northeast 26th Avenue requested the abandonment, and Development Services determined that the entire block face could be abandoned as long as the property owners agreed to accept the vacated property. The width of the right-of-way here in this segment of Northeast 26th Avenue is currently 70 feet, where only 50 feet is required for a typical residential street. Utilities located along the east side of the street limited the amount of the vacation to 5 feet on the east side and 10 feet on the west side, and the utility easement is being retained over the entire area being abandoned. After conducting a door-to-door survey of the residents, 2 of the property owners on the block face declined the offer of the vacated property, so those lots were removed from the area being abandoned. At the hearing on September 27, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Board unanimously recommended approval of the abandonment, and staff recommends approval. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Commissioner Fournier.
I just have a quick question on this one. If future owners of those other 2 properties want to accept the abandonment, they can come back and apply for this or ask the city to initiate this for them?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Very good. Further questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 18 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, allocating a maximum of 40 flex units for a proposed residential development located at 90 Northwest 27th Avenue and 140 Northwest 27th Avenue, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Ms. Dolan.
Thank you, Mayor. Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is a request for a maximum of 40 flex units for a multifamily community on an approximate 2.7-acre site in Collier City. The subject property includes 2 vacant parcels with a land use designation of commercial and a zoning of B3. The proposed density of the project is approximately 15 dwelling units per acre, which is less than the 46 dwelling units per acre allowed by the B3 zoning with an allocation of flex units. The residential use in this location provides a good transition between the commercial fronting on Atlantic Boulevard to the south and the surrounding residential neighborhood. No deed-restricted affordable housing is required in this location since the site is within a half-mile of an existing income-restricted tax credit housing project. At the hearing at September 27, 2023, the P&Z Board unanimously recommended approval of the flex unit allocation, and staff recommends approval. Both staff and the applicant are available to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, thank you for that. Does the applicant wish to make any presentation? No. Just here for questions. Very good, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission, questions, concerns? Commissioner Perkins, followed by Commissioner Moss.
Thank you, Mayor. I was looking at 27th Avenue and the 400 block, which a few months ago we had a young man and a young woman killed on that corner of 27th and the 400 block in that area. And I'm just concerned about apartments. We're just placing apartments there, but we're not cleaning up or addressing the problems that are already there, and we're still placing more apartments in that area. So with staff and BSO, what are we doing when it comes to the crime in that area has not ceased at all, but we want to put more apartments there. I don't have a problem with the apartments. I just want to know what are the plans for some of the crime that takes place on 27th, because I don't think putting these units there is going to get rid of the crime.
I really can't speak to that.
Can Major Atkins perhaps address the 27th Avenue crime issue, or, I mean?
Yeah, where the young man and the lady was killed, if you ride by there right now, the business is open as usual, as though nothing happened. You can see the flowers and everything there where people left in memory of them. But what are we doing on 27th to increase the crime before these units are built?
I believe you mean to decrease the crime.
Decrease, right, I'm sorry.
Decrease, right.
I said increase, yes.
Major Atkins?
Hi, Major Atkins, Chief of Police. In the quarter, you talked about Commissioner Northwest 27th Avenue. Actually, in 1819, our patrol zones, 1819 zone, which encompasses the entire Collier City, we've actually seen a reduction of violent crime recently in that area, to include the shootings. The store itself, we've been actively taking care of the business on the outside. What goes on inside the store is up to the store owners. Unless there's some type of crime that's occurring, we've brought in our covert operations. There is electronic technology in the area that helps us with that exact location. So it's a constant on our radar. Captain Stallings and his team is very much aware of that area. So it's a constant. It's on the radar. So we've been addressing it in that area.
Okay. Yeah, I'd just like to see BSO do a little bit more on 27th, because there are a lot of apartments coming up in that area on that particular street or avenue. So if BSO can do a little bit more, because it's just a lot of people have been killed on that 400 block of 27th. We just know of the first two a few months ago, but there have been more before that. So just, we need you to stay on top of that with what's coming. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Moss?
Yeah. First of all, correction. I believe these are not going to be apartments. These are going to be townhomes, correct?
These are going to be, excuse me, I'm sorry. Mike Vondermeulen with Keith. Our address is 301 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach, and I have been sworn. This is a rental community. The buildings look like townhouses, but because of the requirements, the zoning code, and the size requirements of the lots and the buildings, these were designed to be more rental, and then they had the parking in the front instead of in garages but they are stacked two-story. So they appear and operate and function as townhouses, but they're actually a rental community.
I guess we're just having a difference of semantics, because if it looks like a townhouse, it is a townhouse, as far as I'm concerned, and whether it's for sale or for rent is irrelevant. I grew up in a city that was almost completely townhomes, or row homes, or whatever name you want to put on it. But the bottom line is this: it's going to be bringing people into that community who are going to fill the streets with activity and make it a safer place, not a more dangerous place. So I'm very much in favor of this. And I would also thank Mr. This is Mr. Gottsman's project, correct?
That's correct.
Thank him for doing it. He has been very, very good about being in touch with the Collier City community. He comes to most of their meetings. He has been very transparent in what he's doing and how he's doing it. He has the support of the Collier City Homeowners Association on this. So thank you, Mr. Gottsman, for doing it. I think when we take these empty lots and we put residences on them and we bring people into the community and activity into the community, people are not going to put up with a lot of the nonsense that goes on. So this, I think, is a very good thing for 27th Avenue, and I think it'll also go a long way in helping to reduce the crime that's there. So thank you, Mr. Gottsman, for moving this forward. Thanks.
Very good. Commissioner Fournier.
One quick question. Are these gated, or is it controlled access in any way?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion?
Yes, I do.
Commissioner Perkins?
Okay, you said it's not gated. Are there any amenities for this group, for these units?
The amenities are being designed and added. That was one of the comments that was brought up at the Planning and Zoning Board.
Repeat that again?
There are amenities being added to the project. Initially, there was a large green area. So amenities are being added to that. That was a comment from the Planning and Zoning Board.
You don't know what they are at this point, just the green area?
I don't know the exact details. I know that it's being worked on and being presented back to staff before the site plan formally proceeds to the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay, that's good enough for me. All right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. I have to admit that this is a continuation of the turnaround out in the Collier City area, since there's been so much activity, building activity, as far as townhomes, single-family homes. I mean, between Habitat and Mr. Gottsman and others, it is truly a turnaround out there. It is huge improvement over what was. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any further commission comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes, thank you. Item number
Thank you very
19
much.
is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving the Amica plat lying on the northwest corner of Powerline Road and Northwest 4th Street, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Ms. Dolan.
Thank you, Mayor. Commission, Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is a proposed plat for a vacant half-acre property located in the northwest corner of Powerline and Northwest 4th Street. The plat note restricts the property to 9,200 square feet of commercial development, and the intent is to build a retail hardware store on the site. The conceptual site plan provided with this plat request is identical to the site plan approved by the P&Z Board on February 24th of 2021. Because the land use designation of this parcel is split between residential and commercial, a non-residential flex allocation was approved on March 23rd, 2021, which allows commercial use on the residentially designation portion of the site. The P&Z Board unanimously recommended approval of this plat at their hearing on September 27th, 2023, and staff recommends approval. Both staff and the applicant are present if you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. Does the applicant wish to make any presentation, or here just for questions? Just questions. Very good. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission questions, concerns? Just out of curiosity, because, this was before us, back in 21.
Zooming.
What did it take that long to move the plat process forward?
Yeah, I can't speak to that.
That's okay. I was just, nope, forget it. Further commission questions, concerns? Commissioner Moss.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see this happen again. It's getting rid of one more empty lot and putting something on it that's going to be producing some income for the community, so a few jobs and places for people to be able to shop. So thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Perkins.
Excuse me, I remember when this came up in 2021, I'm not sure what happened that is just coming back. This commercial business, are you taking in consideration that it's surrounded by single-family homes? Behind the business and on the side of it are single-family homes?
Yes, the site plan was approved with all required buffering back in 2021.
Okay, because this is on Powerline and 4th. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's Commissioner Moss.
Yeah, at the time that this was brought before the Collier City Homeowners Association, there's a lot of confusion as to what kind of business it was, and I think they're calling it a hardware store, but as I looked at the plans, what it really is a product showroom. People are not going to be going there to buy hammers and nails and paint. They're going to be there it's a place that designs bathrooms, perhaps kitchens, I don't know. But you'll go there to look at the different products that are available, pick what it is that you want. Probably a great deal of their customers will be to the trade. So, again, semantics. I guess for lack of something better, they called it a hardware store, but really it is a product showroom place. So it's not going to create the traffic that a lot of people fear that it will. It's not going to be creating people coming in and going out in large numbers to buy small items. It really is a product showroom facility. So I think I've seen, at least at the time, some of the plans for it. It's going to be an attractive building. And again, one less empty lot in Collier City with something that's going to produce tax revenue and give a few people jobs. So it's not really a hardware store.
Very good. Ms. Dolan, do I recall correctly, were there additional buffers put in on this particular project?
There were, and the real issue was the fear of cut-through traffic between 31st going all the way down 4th, like with semi-trucks and stuff for loading. So that was really the focus of the site plan in terms of making sure that all traffic was in and out of Powerline and wouldn't cut through the neighborhood.
Right. We were very sensitive about the neighborhood behind there. Yes, I thought I recalled that. Thank you. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
No.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes, that ends our quasi-judicial proceedings. Item number 20 is an approval.
Approval to roll over funding from fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2024 for capital outlay and operating expenditures.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second for discussion. Good evening, Ms. Diamante.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners. Erida Diamante, Budget Director. This is a housekeeping item to roll over funding from fiscal year 23 to 24, mostly related to capital equipment and several operating expenditures that were unable to be encumbered this year, the last fiscal year, and due to supply chain issues.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Jocelyn Jackson. I don't have on my glasses. That looks like, is it 2 million?
Yes.
It is.
You look nice too, girl.
Thank you.
Okay, $2 million to rollover. This, what we have after all the expenditures, everything is paid. Now, this will be rolling over into 2024.
It's existing projects that were approved, but it's just rolling over. It's not like excess
okay.
funds. These are like
These already allocated.
a truck wasn't bought last year, but we're going to buy it this year. Okay.
Okay, so that's what these monies are. Oh, I thought we had a little extra in the bank.
Very good. Any further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, let's go ahead and take a 10-minute recess here. commissioners, calling all commissioners. Go ahead and call this meeting back to order. Item number 21 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 98 Parks and Recreation and Cultural Affairs of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 9801 definitions to amend the definition of park recreational facility and park ranger by amending Section 9802 prohibited acts to modify prohibited acts, by amending Section 9807 public event to remove the requirement for a security deposit, by deleting Section 9810 recreational event to remove the requirement for security deposit, by deleting Section 9810 recreational facility and program fees in its entirety and creating a new Section 9810 authority to establish parks and recreation fees, to provide authorization to establish fees for use of city parks, the public beach, recreational facilities, and amenities, by amending Section 9813 municipal beaches and parks, hours and permits, to delete various sections, by amending Section 9815 discounts and benefits, to delete requirements of showing most recent payroll check stub, by amending Section 9846 hours and days of operation, to add Juneteenth as a holiday, and to provide for possible use of recreational centers on certain holidays, by deleting Section 9847. .47, recreation center fees in its entirety, by amending Section 98.49, application and investigation to modify provisions, by amending Section 9880, city-owned showmobile to modify rental charges and modify certain provisions, by amending Section 98.81, city-owned portable stage to add specific terms to rental charges and modifying certain sections, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Boudreau.
Good evening, Mark Boudreau, Recreation Director. So we did have some very nominal changes to 98, specifically Section PP, not to be confused with urination, no pun intended, and that concludes my comments.
Very good. Thank you for that, Mr. Boudreau. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Here we go. Name and address for the record. Okay. Yep, time's up. Oh, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Jocelyn Jackson, I want to know, it's a lot that's entailing here, and I want to know, is it you guys modifying what's already in position, Mark, of the application? Because I noticed I see the showmobile, you know, different things, the portable stage. Is it going to be the same charge, up charge, down charge?
No, Jocelyn, there's no change in the fees. The fees are simply being removed from the ordinance. So the fees remain the same.
Oh, okay, they're just being removed. Okay, and where they going to?
Simply taken out of the ordinance. So they're on file at every center. They're on the website. They're in our fall guide. The rates are widely broadcast. You won't have any problem finding the rates.
Okay, thank you.
Just to be clear, though, that does not mean the fees will not change in the future.
That's correct.
Just to be clear, I just don't want anybody out there to think, nope, fees are set, that's what it's going to be.
So when I say removed from the ordinance, that doesn't mean we are not charging anything. They're just taken out of the code.
Where the fees are listed is now taken out of the ordinance and listed separately in a different area. The fees are still the same. We haven't changed those, but we may in the future, at some point in time, change fees. That's all. Very good. Thank you. Further input from the public? Just name and address for the record.
Sarah Peterson, 4354 Northwest 9th Avenue. I saw in there about the prohibited acts. So is there a list of those prohibited acts that we're removing, or are we adding to those?
No, prohibited acts remain the same.
Okay, prohibited acts.
Modified a couple of them.
Okay, so I think that's it, prohibited. And the discount and benefits, what exactly, what is that doing? That's taking it out or saying there?
No, that's staying in there. Only recreation center fees and other fees are being removed, but the discount stays in there.
Okay, so all of this is just saying we taking all this out of the ordinance and just putting it somewhere else?
We are taking 300 fees out of the ordinance, and you will have access to them, website, social media, all the centers have them. We're just simply removing them from the code of ordinance.
What does that do when you remove it from the?
Well, let me ask you, let me say it this way. Have you ever gone to the code of ordinances to look up a fee?
Yeah, it's hard to find.
Oh, well, okay, then.
In essence, the fees are in the ordinance currently, and if we wanted to change the fees, we have to go through the process of changing the ordinance, advertise it, and go through 2 public hearings. Having the fees outside of the ordinance allows management to adjust the fees as they see fit.
Okay.
So.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Eaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes, item 22 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 98, Parks and Recreation and Cultural Affairs of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 98.35, Fees, and Section 98.37, School and College Team Rates, to provide authorization to establish fees for use of the city's golf course, and by amending Section 98.39, Group Rates, to modify the name of the section, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Campbell.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Brian Campbell, Golf Course Manager. We have not changed or added or deleted anything from the first reading. Here to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
David Hall, 290 Southeast 8th Court. Just congratulations on what we're doing with the course. It's coming along. It is, watching grass grow, and as it gets said, but it's coming along nicely, and I think the facility that we'll have will be tremendous. My son plays a tremendous amount of golf around the state, and seeing the courses that we compete with, what youth level has to compete with, this will be a nice change for them to be able to have this in Pompano, and I think doing that facilitates the growth of the game and facilitates the success of the course, because getting the younger kids to play and have them to have access to it continues to, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the course will be used, so I'm all for it, and thank you for everything that we're doing to the course. Appreciate it.
Very good, thank you, sir. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Vice Mayor.
No, I just want to congratulate everyone who's been working on the golf course, and Brian, and the work that you've been doing there. It looks amazing. We just did the ribbon cutting for the extension of Gillespie's, which plays into the golf course as well, and it's become such an amazing feature for our city to have and be proud of. So thank you very much, and
Thank you.
keep up the good work.
Very good. Further commission discussion. Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, question. There was a gentleman here before the meeting, and he said he couldn't stay. But his question was, are the rates the same for residents and non-residents?
No, we have separate rates for membership, for resident and non-resident, and going forward, we'll have the daily rates. This will be a first time where we've had a resident rate, which will be the lowest rate, and then a non-resident would pay a higher rate.
So resident mean only Pompano Beach?
Residents of Pompano Beach will get the lowest rate, yes.
Okay, that was his question. All right, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Vice Mayor.
I just also wanted to bring up, I had another resident come up who is a member and loves golfing with his wife, and I know that we've been working on one of the courses, and he wanted to know if there's going to be some type of an adjustment given to renewals for the people who've missed out on being able to be, who are on the double course plan, while the one course has been closed for a while, and if we're going to be working on those individually.
We haven't finalized those plans yet, and they're in the works. We'll have something.
Excellent, thank you.
Very good. Further, Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you. While we're talking about golf, I guess I was out there yesterday. I actually took my first golf lesson. It looks very nice. What is the progress of the work on the course? Are we on track?
Our original date was first week of January 2024. We're still on target date for that.
Okay.
Being that it's grass and we're outside, if we have any inclement weather that is detrimental to growing grass, that would be the only thing that would affect it. But we're on target for the first week of January. The construction and all that is over. It's been completed for a while. Literally now, as David said earlier, we're watching grass grow.
Yep.
And it's a slow grow. But so we're water fertilize, mow, water fertilize. That's what we're doing.
Thank you. That was what I saw yesterday. There's not much of anything happening. It's just nature's doing the work at this point. So,
Correct.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Sneaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes. Item 23 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a First Amendment to the billing service agreement between the City of Pompano Beach and Digitech Computer LLC, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, Matt Witten, EMS Chief for the Fire Department. This is the second reading of this ordinance. There have been no changes since the first reading. I'm here for any questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. I guess Chief stuck you with the duty, eh? This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Sneaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes. Item 24 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a medical director agreement between the City of Pompano Beach and Richard J. Paley, MD, LLC, for medical consulting and advisory services for Pompano Beach Fire Rescue, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Mr. Whitten.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Matt Witten, EMS Chief, Fire Department. This ordinance is to keep our current medical director. Dr. Paley's been our medic director since December of 2020. He's an integral part of our department. He helps create our protocols. He helps with our training. We actually operate under his license, so we have to have a medical director. He works very well with us, and we would like to keep him as our medical director with this 5-year contract.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. This has been on the agenda before, and I was just wondering, because he is a consultant, why do we have to put it on the agenda if it's 70,000? Because normally, I think it's under 75, the city manager don't need our approval, but is there a reason that we put this on the agenda?
Mr. Berman, he's got his hand raised as an ordinance.
Yes, the answer to the question is, per the city's charter, it is a contract that involves payment out of the city appropriations for greater than 1 year, and it needs to be approved in the form of an ordinance.
Greater than 1 year.
Which is something we'd like to change at some point, but we'll talk about that another time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Questions? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Sneaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Item 25 is an approval.
Approval to purchase water meter fittings and water line accessories as needed for the Utilities Department per the City of Deerfield Beach Cooperative Invitation to Bid ITD 2018-1912 from the awarded vendors Cora and Maine LP, Empire Pipe and Supply, Ferguson Waterworks, and Fortiline Inc. in the estimated annual amount not to exceed $700,000.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Brown.
Evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Randy Brown, Utilities Director. This is a co-op bid for parts and pieces of the utility system, pipes, hydrants, meters. If it's hardware, it's inside this co-op.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Sneeden,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, item 26 is an approval.
Approval to purchase quicklime as needed for the Utilities Department per the City of Tamarack Cooperative Invitation to Bid ITB 23-36B from El Hoist North America of Alabama LLC in the estimated annual amount not to exceed $983,290.
So moved?
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Mr. Brown.
Evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Randy Brown, Utilities Director. This is the primary coagulant for our lime softening treatment plant, and this is our expenditures typically for a year.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Commissioner Fournier.
Is this used just in the lime softening process, not the membrane?
Correct.
So this will no longer be needed if we transition away from that?
Correct.
Is this 446 per ton about what we have paid historically? Or has this gone up?
It has held its course. Let me double check that.
I know we've seen a lot of increases in chemical
Chemicals,
costs.
yes.
But
Have that off the
it's okay. Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Sneeden,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, item 27 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 50 Water of the City of Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 50.03 Water Tariff by deleting subsection D in its entirety and replacing subsection D to provide for modified rates and charges by amending Section 50.04 Initial Fees and Deposits for New Water Service to modify fees for initiation of water service by amending Section 50.12 Change Service Installation Costs to modify fees, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second?
Moved and seconded for discussion. Once again, Mr. Brown.
Evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Randy Brown, Utilities Director. These are 4 companion items that will be in one presentation, and then each will be voted upon completion of the presentation.
Okay.
Since our discussions that have gone on with staff and all, there's a few things that we've changed that we couldn't get into the ordinance title when we first put this on the agenda. So these items will be changed to the second reading in 2 weeks. They are the fiscal year for the rate increase update for adding fiscal 2029 in place of January 1st, 2024 in all 4 titles. Chapter 50 now includes a revision in Section 50.08 and 50.02 to update the customer service fees. And the customer service fees and deposits added to the ordinance will be effective January 1st, 2024.
Okay.
So what I'm going to go through is the projects that's needed by the utility in the city, and then Elaine Conti-Vastas, our consultant from Raftillis, will do the presentation on the rates.
Very good.
So we're looking forward to sustainability and resiliency for our utility. We want to be sustainable during storms and resilient, and we want to be there for the long term, so we have long-term planning in mind as we're doing this. Also, there's regulatory pressures that are involved with this work. These capital projects will be funded by the rates in a bond, and we'll bring the bond to you after the first of the year sometime, first or second quarter. The first project is replacement of the water treatment plant electrical backbone. It is a raceway system and transformers and switch gears that need replacing. They were installed in 1978, and they've experience their end of lifetime coming up. They're hard to get parts for. As we switch into the new equipment, it'll be more dependable. It also will save us electric on our treatment process, because we've done phase one, and that was a 40% increase in savings to that part of the treatment plant when we had all the new wiring and all the new transformers and digital equipment that goes along with that. Moving towards technology that will remove contaminants of concern, emerging concern. The EPA is pushing a bill, a law that will have us have to remove the PFOS, and other contaminants that are coming. There's another 28 on the list that they're testing for now. We'll need this treatment process, more membrane treatment, to do away with the lime softening plant to meet these future regulations. And here's the compliance schedule that EPA has. They would like to have the regulation done by the end of the year. However, they've given themselves about a 3 to 6 month extension. You can see that they want compliance by the first part of 2028. And if you're in construction, they're willing to give you a compliance extension while the construction's going on. So we're on a tight timeline, and this is the entire nation that's going to have to do this, alter their treatment in some form or another to meet 4 parts per trillion on these chemicals. A new monitoring well. We did our due diligence, our work. We televised this well every 2 years. In our last televised look down the well, the piping was showing signs of wear and tear, and DEP will expect us to replace this well. This well monitors the other deep well to make sure that we're not polluting different stratas of the aquifer. This project would replace unlined cast iron pipe throughout the city. There's 20 different areas in the city, almost every district, that we need to replace these water pipes that are causing rusty water when we have an upset in the system or flush and hydrants too hard. So you can see there's an extreme look at a pipe that we replaced in 2019 with the new pipe that you're showing there. Most of this would be done by pipe bursting, where there's little impact to the neighborhoods, and it'll improve the water quality, increase water pressures, and the public can have better enjoyment of their water. This is the replacing and hardening of the meter infrastructure. Right now we have an AMI, or automatic meter infrastructure, in place. It is a tower digital radio meter structure where the signal comes from the meter, it goes to 19 different towers throughout the city, and then comes back into the billing department. The new system, right now, it is failing, and we're reading meters by person to get the reads. So the new system is a cellular system where the meters will talk directly to the billing system. There's no towers in between. And this is carried on the AT&T FirstNet, which is for first responders. So it is a strengthened infrastructure to gather this information for us. Increase of the reuse distribution system. Reuse system was originally started by the South Florida Water Management District. It was a consent order for us to start the reuse system or as part of our water supply. This is figured in every 5 years to our water supply update, which we'll be bringing to you at the end of next year. It offsets directly to our consumptive use permit, or what's called our CUP from the Water Management District, and it offsets our water demands and makes our potable water last longer and for the future. And we're pulling less out of the environment, protecting the environment, and where it's sustainable, and we're able to save gallon for gallon when we're using reuse for potable water. As the demand increases, we're going to need storage tanks and a booster station. This project involves phasing of two 3.5 million gallon tanks, and the booster station that would supply pressure to the western side of the city as it grows. We're also looking at a 30,000 square foot maintenance facility to replace the outgrown shops that we have now. This is something we had discussed about a force main study. We have almost 59 miles of force main in the city. We've had several failures in different areas, and it's time for us to do a study to determine the viability of our system as it stands. The study will include placing probes in the wastewater system. It will travel through the pipe sonically. We'll measure the wall thickness of the force main system, and will indicate places where we need improvements, repairs, or replacement. We also have a number of lift stations that failed this year, and they were emergency purchases, and we've also put in money for them in the next coming years to keep pace. Now, as we talk about rates and that we're looking at a bond, this will free up some of our money to do more lining in our wastewater gravity system. And I'll show you what it looks like when our cameras go down the sewer line and what it looks like after it's been lined. So there we have the leaks coming in. That's groundwater coming into the system, which we have to pump. It's pumping and electrical cost. We have pump maintenance, and then we have to pay for treatment at Broward County. As you can see there, new pipe that replaces the leaky pipe. And that spares our capacity for the future in the Broward County treatment plant that we have. So a summary of the benefits: it's improved water quality for these projects, sustainability of the utility systems, compliance with future regulations, protection of public health, reliability of the utility systems during storms, customer enjoyment, energy efficiency, increased conservation, and protection of and the update of technology. So we work hard to make the ratepayer dollar go further. And in 2023, the Water Advisory Board, or the Technical Advisory Committee, reports to the Water Advisory Board. They've recommended us a grant of $175,000 for our contractual obligations with Lighthouse Point. We have 2 more phases to build in Lighthouse Point, and we're done with that. So this will help us. They've helped pay for the design of this portion, Phase 5, and this will help with the construction of that phase. Another way that we've been able to make the rates go further is we have a grant of $1.1 million from the state legislature, thanks to our lobbyists and our staff working for us. We have a septic to sewer project that's over on Northwest 15th and Powerline. I think it's an area of about 81 acres. And with this grant, customers that live in this area will not have to pay for connection. So it's a savings for both us in the construction and for our customers. And our biggest grant that we've received lately is a $9.6 million grant from the Department of Environmental Protection for study and design of new water treatment plant for emerging contaminants of concern. This is a grant forgiveness or loan principal forgiveness for the utility. We are ahead of other utilities in our efforts to be on the forefront to remove these contaminants that are in the groundwaters, and we work hard to get this going, get our design done, and it should put us in good position for grants for construction dollars with principal forgiveness. Nothing's absolute, but we hope to be ready to have our hands out first. So that's what I have on the projects, and Elaine will cover the rate components to make this happen.
Before we move on to the rate component, let's just see if we have any questions from the commission at this point on projects. Does the commission have any questions, anything? Commissioner Segerson Eden?
I was wondering how long and what goes into building a new water treatment plant? Is this the $9.6 million grant for the study on it? Is it a study or?
It's a study, because we're examining different technologies before we move into final design. So we have pilot plant being built in our plant right now to test granular activated carbon, zeolite softening type removal, Midax, and then we're also testing more membranes for the removal of these contaminants of concern. So when we get to build the plant, we'll know that it'll work.
Gotcha. Okay. How long does it usually take to build a plant, though?
3-4 years, depends on the complexity and the size.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Further questions at this time? Vice Mayor?
When you're looking to do these testings, does each municipality or facility need to conduct these testings separately to determine what's best for them, or is there a way to, okay.
Yes, they do. So we're going to be in competition for design teams, engineers, equipment. This is not just here, it's across the United States. So there's going to be a high demand for this equipment. Remember when we talked about the monitoring well and it went? When we said we really need to get in line and get this done, it was an $8 million price tag, and that hurt. But Port St. Lucie just bid the same type of well for $20 million. So it pays to get out there.
Commissioner Segerson Eden?
Thank you. Will you, just for the record, what are the acceptable levels of the PFAS and PFOS currently, and what is the federal government proposing that they be going forward?
In February, they came out with a recommended goal. Before that, they came out with a recommended goal of 70 parts per trillion. And in February of this year, they came out with a regulation saying 4 parts per trillion.
That's an amazing
It's a grain of sand in the Rose Bowl stadium is what it is that we're having to remove now. But
one drop in the Rose Bowl stadium. So they went from 70 parts per trillion to 4 parts per trillion.
That's right.
Amazing. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Further questions at this time? Seeing none, go ahead, Randy. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Elaine Conti with Raftelis. As Mr. Brown mentioned, I'm going to be going through the impacts on water, wastewater reuse, and stormwater, but we're going to take those individually. So for the study drivers, you heard from Mr. Brown, one of the major drivers of the study is the capital improvement plan, the projects that he just went over, the requirements, which total requirements in addition to those that Mr. Brown described are $194 million. 164 of those, $164 million is what we're going to be looking to issue bonds to cover the major projects that Mr. Brown described. As we issue bonds, we have to look at debt service coverage, make sure we have revenue sufficient to pay our bondholders. So that's putting pressure on the rates. And as Mr. Brown mentioned, staff has done what they can to obtain state revolving fund loans that have low interest rates, trying to get grant funding, but these projects are going to require a revenue bond funding. Those capital projects we are spreading over a 7-year period. We also have inflationary pressures on operations and maintenance costs. In 2024 alone, the cost increased $2.3 million. That's a combination of increase in personnel costs, chemical costs. In addition to Broward County increased their volumetric component of the wastewater treatment rate that we pay to them by 15% as well. So all of those are causing pressures on water and wastewater rates. And in addition, we've seen a decline in water use over the past several years. There's several reasons for that. One is, as we have increased rates in the past, I think we do see some reduction, in particular in some of those higher tiers, so some price elasticity. You also, as you have infill and have more multifamily, they're using less water than a single family would. So that also, as less water that's sold, also puts pressure on rates as well. So what this next chart shows you are the cash needs of the utility over the next several years. The first big blue line is the operations and maintenance cost, and then the green area that you see is the debt service that we'll be adding over this time as we issue $164 million to cover those projects. And the dark line that you see going across are the revenues under current rates, and they're not sufficient to meet the capital needs of the system. So in order to meet the cash needs of the system, the rates that we need, I'm going to first kind of focus you to the bottom line, what the average single-family residential customer who uses 8,000 gallons, over this time period, we'd have a series of rate increases that the combined impact for that average residential customer would be a little over 6.5% per year. That's comprised of water rates increasing 9.5% each year. We're recommending that they start October 1st of 2024. So each fiscal year, we'd have these increases. Reuse would increase by 12%. As Mr. Brown went over, there's some reuse projects. Even with these rate increases, the rates for reuse are still, well below those for the potable water system. And then the wastewater rate increases would be 4% over this time frame, which again, the combined impact to the average customer is about 6.5% over this time frame. Historically, when you look at the rate increases that we've had, in addition to those that we're proposing, on average, those have been a little under 6%. And we are proposing, we recognize that over the next couple of years, those increases are a little above that average. But I will say, I've been doing this for 23 years, and the inflationary pressures on capital cost, operations cost, and the capital intensity of this water and wastewater business, we've seen double digits for quite a few utilities, in the state of Florida as well as across the nation. So there is pressure on these rates. And as I mentioned, we've worked with the utility department, finance department to try to spread the capital projects over a 7-year period to look at debt structure, to wrap debt, to minimize the adding of that debt service as best we can. And so we recognize at 6.5%, but we've worked to get those as low as we can with meeting those capital requirements that are needed for the utility. So when we compare what the proposed bill would be, the combined water and wastewater bill for the average residential customer next October, it's a little under $95 for the average residential customer that uses 8,000 gallons. So you'll see we're still favorable when we compare with peers, even though this is a year ahead, and we would anticipate a lot of these other municipalities having rate adjustments as well. So we continue to fare favorably. Should I move on to stormwater or, okay, stormwater. For the stormwater fund, we have some key drivers. There was a master planning study that was done several years back, so the stormwater has had a history of having rate increases to be able to fund those projects. And we have a lot of the debt service that had been issued for those projects is now starting that we need to fund. And we also have, just like we do for the water and wastewater fund, we have target metrics, debt service coverage metrics. And in addition, there's a master plan that's going to be conducted that will identify additional stormwater projects. So we've incorporated those into our forecast. Similarly, with the stormwater fund, if we look at our operating cost, the debt service cost, and other capital improvement projects that will be funded through rates, the current rates aren't sufficient to meet that utilities needs either. So we're proposing a rate increase as well for the stormwater fund, which would increase the average residential bill would increase by 56 cents. That is a 9.5% increase, and we're proposing that in each year. But again, the residential customer would see an increase of 56 cents. That would be scaled, appropriately for commercial customers as well. Once again, how does this compare? We compare, still favorably and comparable when we look at other stormwater rates assessed by neighboring municipalities. And the last segment of fees that we looked at were customer service and capacity fees. So I'm going to talk about the customer service fees first. Those fees were last analyzed and increased in fiscal year 2000, so it's been quite a while. They are fees, and I'll show them to you in a minute, but they're fees that are specifically asked for by a customer. So for example, if they want their meter tested or they're opening up an account, those are the types of services that we're talking about. So we analyzed those costs and looked at really labor and material to perform those costs, given that it's now 2023 and they haven't been updated in 2000. So for these, we are recommending, because they haven't been updated in such a long period of time, to update those on January 1st of 2024. Currently, they represent about 0.3% of the utilities revenues, but we do feel that they should reflect the actual cost to provide these services. So examples are, right now, if you set up for a new account, it's $20, and we're recommending that it go to $40 based on the cost of service and looking at the range of other municipalities. So there's quite a few of these that are doubling or increasing, but again, they haven't been reviewed or increased since 2000, and we're trying to just reflect labor and materials and today's rates. Similarly, these are the TAP fees. TAP fees are for new development, and they're particularly are, for example, setting the meter and connecting the home to the water or sewer line. So these are what are called TAP fees. These have not been updated as well. We've taken samples of work orders and factored in time for personnel, current labor rates, current materials and equipment to perform these services, and recommending that they be increased to cover the cost of those services. And this one, which is very tiny to see, are utility deposits. Utility deposits are simply when someone is setting up a new account, we take a deposit, and those are based off of the average user for each meter size. So for example, the 3/4 inch single family would be on 8,000 gallons, and we calculate current bill, and the deposit, I believe, represents 3 months worth. That's how these deposits are established, and we're just recommending that they be updated to reflect the current rates. So the deposits would be based off of the current rates. And then finally, we did look at the capacity fees or capital recovery fees. Those are the fees for new development that are assessed one time. They're separate from the TAP fees. They are to represent the capacity or the infrastructure that has been built that a new customer is getting access to. Those fees were last increased in 2008. We did look at them and analyze them. We're recommending that they remain at the same level, but we would like to evaluate if there's an opportunity to assess the fee differently, and we're going to evaluate that and bring it back to you at the next reading. However, I will say that even if those rates were to change, because of the nature of these, the volatility and development, they certainly may help down the road, but it's not something that would alleviate the necessary or the necessity for the rate increases now, given that a lot of it's debt service and has to be covered. So that's it. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, very good. Well, this is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? No public input? Very good. We'll go ahead and close public input. All right, let's open it up to commission discussion, questions, concerns. And this has to do with rates or the presentation Mr. Brown went through. Anybody can ask anything, of course. Anyone? Vice Mayor?
I want to thank you guys for being so thorough and forward-thinking and looking into it. I know it's a lot to take on, but this is drinking water's top priority for life as we know it. So I appreciate, I know from the first presentation that we got to now, you guys have figured out ways to try and make the impact less to the residents as possible, because, I know that's a forefront of my mind is, what is the impact to each taxpayer's wallet at the end of the day? And just, keeping in mind as we move forward into these fiscal years that, to see how we can help alleviate that pain as well. So thank you very much on that. I do have one other just question in general. After 2029, what are we seeing the projection being, or with increases and such?
For now, we're seeing it level off to more normal levels. I'll caveat that with saying, the capital improvement plan only goes so far out. So I don't know if Randy has any capital.
It'll be depending on our infrastructure, and the biggest hit to us right now was the EPA change in regulations within a very short time period. So that crystal ball I don't have of what they're going to do.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Well, on that issue, I got a couple other questions, but on that issue, let's say, this is purely hypothetical, let's say that across the country there is an uprising of the residents and they say, absolutely not. We're not going to tolerate this. And they convince the folks at the federal level that no, this is ridiculous, that 70 parts per trillion or whatever it is just dandy fine for all of us. And suddenly the EPA says, ooh, okay, well then I guess our bosses have told us that no, we're going to leave it the same. What happens to all this? I mean, we would not need to go forward with a new plan at that point, correct?
That's correct.
And so,
but the future is there's going to be more of this.
I understand.
My look is at the long haul. This is a short haul portion here, and I think that my advice would be to go on with it. But hey, if they said no tomorrow that we're not going to do it, then we back off. Look at our options down the road.
Because I mean, with the bonds and things like that, we wouldn't have to float all those bonds so we could back off theoretically if suddenly the world were to stand still or something like that. I know it's not going to happen because I mean as we learn more, after all, we used to think DDT was okay also, but the government is here to help us and with good reason. And it's absolutely nobody wants to nobody can argue against being safer. That's it. A couple of things. Our consumptive use permit, is that reduced because of our reuse expansion?
No. It allows us to maintain our consumptive use permit. It supports, as we do a 5-year water supply plan that we're about ready to enter into, it projects out to 2045 and 2065. And they take our water supply plan that we have, the consumptive use, and they add in the reuse savings of potable water to see that we're meeting the demand of the future populations.
Okay, great. What is the approximate lifespan of relining pipes?
Over 20 years.
Okay.
That, for the gravity system?
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 to 30 years.
Okay. And then they can be relined again?
You get into an area of reduced capacity because of the linings. Probably by that time they'll have something better.
Okay, got you. All right, that's all I had. Thank you very much. Well, okay, final question. This is more Randy, I guess, than rates, but supposing we just said, well, no, we don't want to do this. This is just too much money. It's too expensive. Do we have that option to say no?
Yes, we have that option. We could say no, but we'll be in violation of the EPA ordinance, and which will become a DEP ordinance. And if we have failing force main systems, there's fines and citations and consent orders that could be down our road. But we've been very proactive to try and prevent those things from happening.
Yeah, and I should say that. Thank you very much for what Mr. Harrison, this goes to you, of course, because you're the city manager, but thank you for all of the proactive measures that we do take. We don't want to be a poster child for neglecting our infrastructure like some other communities in Broward County are. I'm not going to mention names, of course. I just don't want to do that. But yes, thank you for all you do in that regard to keep us up to date and up to speed, and of course winning all those awards too. Very good, thank you. I've got Commissioner Fournier, and then I had Commissioner Segerson-Eden first. She had her hand up. Then I'll come back to Commissioner Fournier. Commissioner Segerson-Eden.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that it's on the record, the PFAS and PFOS. Currently, what is, if you can answer, I think, on average, what part per trillion is the city able to filter out now?
We're able to meet the hazard index. It's a calculation of the different types of long chain, short chain polymers of the PFOS, PFAS, and a litany of other polymers that are very much the same. But we're going to want them removed.
Right, I get that. And just in case people are maybe not sure what they are those forever chemicals, those carbon chains that...
Carbon fluoride chains. These have been around since the 1930s. They've been in use for everything from firefighting foam to fire retardant clothing to Teflon pans. My contact in my eye has between 600 to 20,000 parts per million of PFOS. It's almost entirely made of PFOS. So cosmetics are almost 70% PFOS. So they are pervasive throughout our life.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much.
Very good. Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you. I want to thank Randy and Elaine for all their work on this. I appreciate all the time you've spent with me, and I'm sure everyone up here talking about this. This one's a really tough one for me because there's a lot of money when you add this up. But I also firmly believe we need to invest in our infrastructure to prevent bigger problems down the road. And if we ask people if they want the chemicals out of their drinking water, I think most people say yes to that, although now I'm putting on my face apparently. So, but when I add this up, I'm coming out with, at the end of this 5-year horizon, it's because this is compounding. When you look at the historical rate increases, it was 11% or 6%, but it wasn't 5 years in a row. So this compounding effect, it has a big impact on rates. So at the end of this 5 years, your average resident for their wastewater, water bill, and stormwater will be paying a little over $37 more a month. So almost $450 more a year. This is a big amount for people who are struggling with affordability in every part of their life, from insurance to cereal cost at the grocery store.
We work very hard to have a living wage, an economically level that people can have water.
Yeah, it's just, this is a big decision we're making because of the time horizon and the compounding effects of this. So 3.5% of, so let's assume it's 6 to 7%, 3.5% is the increase in operating expenses, so chemicals, personnel costs. And 3% is the debt service, so that's what supports these infrastructure projects. Okay. Are there any of these infrastructure projects, so the plant we talked about, that's a big chunk of this. Are there any other ones that can be deferred any longer, given that we have these compounding effects going on right now? So is there something we can do? And then my other question is, we talked about this the other day, reuse. So reuse frees up potable water. Correct. So the neighborhoods I represent aren't really using any more potable water now than they were a couple years ago, and then they will in 5 years. So this need for water, this demand is from growth. It's from development and growth that's happening here. And are the developers paying, are we figuring out a way for them to pay for that? Because the need for more water is coming from the growth here. So, and I understand we're offsetting that with reuse, but they should be paying for that because the citizens now who live in their single-family homes aren't using any more water than they were, and they probably won't be in 5 years. So can developers and development pay for this somehow?
And as we've examined that it has to be fair and equitable to all the parties, and that, I think Mr. Berman would back us up that if we laid the burden on the feet of one group, we would probably be using his services and outside counsel services to justify those costs. However, that does not mean that we're not looking to see about those impact rates that we were talked about for the capacity fees.
I appreciate that. I saw that at the end, and I appreciate that we might get an update on that. I'm struggling with this one, and I just think maybe there's a little more work we need to do somehow, but thank you.
And when we did review the projects, we did cut down the force main system from 15 million to 5 million. We're going to let the study dictate what we're going to do and how much we need for that. So that was about the only one we felt that we could reduce in.
Okay. The meter infrastructure needs is
immediate.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Moss.
I feel very strongly about this. Today in the state of Florida, there are millions and millions of people who live in condominiums that are bemoaning the fact that their fees are going up by very dramatic rates. And why is that? Because they did what a lot of people would like us to do, and that is to put off the inevitable. Whatever costs today to fix something, it'll be double tomorrow. We all know that. And we can't keep kicking the can down the road. We have to repair things and improve things as we go along. And so, I do feel very strongly about postponing these kinds of things or diminishing these kinds of things. I don't know if the numbers that you've come up with are good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not an expert in this field. I have to rely on you and your expertise. And obviously, the awards that you've won over the years suggest that you're doing a pretty good job. So if we waited for our citizens to say, oh, yeah, sure, we want to pay for that, nothing would ever get done. So this is something that has to be done, because if it's going to cost us $35 a year, or residents $35 a year 5 years from now, if we don't do it, it's going to cost them $135 a year 5 years from now. So this has to be done. We have to keep up with these things. There's nothing more critical than our water supply in any community. So everyone up here is going to pay more money. Everyone out there is going to pay more money. That's an inevitability. But do we not do it and get ourselves into a deep hole where we're in real trouble because we haven't done it. As the mayor said, there are other cities in this county who will remain unnamed, but look at the mess they're in. And do we want to be in that same mess? So thank you for all the hard work that went into this. I rely on your expertise and your dedication to your job, so I will support this because it has to be done. Thanks.
Mr. Berman, did you want to chime in? I'm just
attentively listening.
Oh, okay, okay. Very good.
I might remind you, since you asked if I may, put my microphone on, I'm sorry. In addition to, we have to be prepared to pay, we do have, just to remind you of current litigation against Dow, against DuPont, and against these other companies. So hopefully in the future, depending on the result, and again, I don't have a magic 8-ball either. We can't plan on that. We have to plan to move forward. Hopefully I'll have good news in the future, though, to help mitigate some of these costs once the court proceedings have moved along. So I just want to remind you, since you happen to call on me. I was just paying great attention to everything, but thank you for asking.
Okay, you think that's going to be around $70 million?
No habla inglés.
Commissioner Fournier?
When do you think we will have more clarity on that litigation? Because litigation can...
Take out the 8-ball.
Yeah, I mean, it can take a long time.
It's actually moving along fairly quickly. We were one of the last parties to get in. This is not the class action. We're an individual plaintiff here, so things are moving somewhat quickly, but we don't know who's going to declare bankruptcy, who's going to do what. So again, the more quickly we can get this to you, the more we can get to hopefully offset these costs and take the burden off the taxpayers. That was the goal of entering into this. And hopefully, in the future, we'll also have some good news for you on that. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but at least we're making the effort to try and save as much money as possible for our residents. That's all I can tell you at this point.
So as part of that, do we have to show that we need to make these expenditures to bring to change our plant, our water facility, or?
That part of it is to show that the contamination and our results, and we've already gotten the lab results, and we're working more toward that at this point. The arguments are that, of course, it's going to result in these expenditures. So the costs are going to be tremendous, and we have to plan for those now, though. So that's why I didn't bring it up initially. I didn't want to take the steam out of the need to fund properly and make sure we're in a good position with or without the litigation. But behind the scenes, we are working to try and assist to the extent that we can.
Since we started testing when we heard about some of these developments, and we've tested everything, and that has helped us get the maximum number of points in the lawsuit that we possibly can. So we were on it, and thanks to my staff, we're ready and poised to stay ahead of that curve.
Thank you.
Very good. I just one final thing. Commissioner Moss, your comments about delayed maintenance. I was just thinking it's funny. Some other communities in Broward County who will remain nameless, they get shredded by the press, and the reason they get shredded by the press is because they didn't do certain things like we're being asked to do here today. But the press never really, goes out and says, "Great job for doing your job, city commissioners and mayors, for protecting the public and actually making sure that we have the proper facilities in place." I mean, they shred you if you don't do it, but they don't give you awards for doing what we're talking about doing here. It's unfortunate, but I guess that's our job. So, further commission discussion? Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
I just wanted to say, I think Randy's doing this so he can get another award. Thanks.
If that was it, man, I'll go get one for you. It's a whole lot cheaper.
No, but thanks very much. It's very thorough, and all the discussions we've had getting to the point where we're clearly understanding the issues, the difficulties, and the necessity. So thank you very much, both of you.
Very good. Anything further? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, item 28 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach amending Chapter 51 Sewers of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pompano Beach by amending Section 51.05 wastewater tariff to modify rates and charges for sewer service, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Mr. Brown?
Mayor, Commissioners, Randy Brown, Utilities Director. No further additions to this item.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Very good. Let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Sineden,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, item 29 is a first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance amending Chapter 53 Stormwater Management of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida by amending Section 53.12 Stormwater Fees to modify monthly fees for stormwater services, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Mr. Brown.
Mayor, Commissioners, Randy Brown, Utilities Director. This was covered in the presentation. No further comments.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Sineden,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, item 30 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach amending Chapter 54 Reuse Water and Cross-Connection Control of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pompano Beach by amending Section 5405 Connection Charges and Rates to modify rates and charges, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second, and once again, Mr. Brown.
Randy Brown, Utilities Director. This is covered in the presentation. The only comment I'd like to make here is that I'd like to thank Mark and Jill in the Attorney's Office, Arietta and her staff, and Allison and her staff, because it was a team effort to work this out through the last 5 months or so.
Very good. Very good. All right, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Sineden,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, item 31 is a resolution.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Harrison.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Randy and Brian, Suzette, Allison, Arietta, the whole crew here, and Elaine. Great job for us. This is a major, major undertaking that all cities should do on a routine basis, just the way that Randy has recommended, and I wholeheartedly support that. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, and appreciate all staff's effort. Absolutely, no, because it keeps us in good form, and that's as it should be. Thank you for that. Item 31 is a resolution. Appreciate it.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, appointing blank to the Public Art Committee of the City of Pompano Beach as an artist for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on October 25th, 2025, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for discussion. Are there any nominations for this item? Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, I'd like to nominate designer Karen Mullen.
She is not up for this particular item.
For the arts?
Uh,
Oh, we look at the
artist.
designer. I'm sorry. I'd like to nominate David Miller.
Very good. David Miller, the incumbent, District 5, has been nominated. Are there any further nominations for this item?
Was it? I'm sorry, I didn't.
It's item 31. David Miller's been nominated. Asking if there's any further nominations. Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Item 32 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, appointing blank to the Public Art Committee of the City of Pompano Beach as a designer for the term of 2 years, said term to expire on October 25th, 2025, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Karen Mullen, designer.
Very good. Karen Moreland. Are there any further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. That takes us up to, sorry, wrong page, went the wrong direction. Item 33 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, appointing blank to the Public Art Committee of the City of Pompano Beach for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on October 25th, 2025, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Are there any nominations for this item?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Perkins.
I'd like to nominate incumbent Marie Johnson.
Marie Johnson, District 4. Are there any further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Item 34 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, appointing blank to the Public Art Committee of the City of Pompano Beach as alternate number 1 for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on October 25th, 2025, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Are there any nominations for this item?
Yes, Mayor.
I've got Commissioner Perkins, then Commissioner Seegerson-Eden. Commissioner Perkins.
I'd like to nominate Kimberly Harmon.
Kimberly Harmon, very good. Commissioner Seegerson-Eden.
That was my nomination as well.
Very good. Are there any further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Item 35 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, appointing blank to the Public Art Committee of the City of Pompano Beach as alternate number 2 for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on October 25th, 2025, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Are there any nominations for this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Vice Mayor.
I'd like to nominate Sarika Peterson.
Sarika Peterson, very good. Are there any further nominations for this item?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Moss.
I'd like to nominate Karen Moreland.
Karen Moreland, she was
just
actually
moved up.
already appointed
Already appointed.
on a previous item, sir.
All right.
One before.
Then, in that case, Velma Flowers.
Velma Flowers, very good, Velma Flowers. Are there any further nominations for this item? Very good, nominations are closed. When your name is called, please indicate Sarika Peterson or Velma Flowers. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Sarika Peterson.
Commissioner Moss,
Velma Flowers.
Commissioner Perkins,
Thelma Flowers.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton,
Sarika Peterson.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Sarika Peterson.
Mayor Harden.
Sarika Peterson. Very good, thank you. That takes us up. Any additional audience to be heard, Mr. Alford?
No, Mayor.
Very good. All right, our next scheduled meetings shall be November 14th, 2023 at 1 p.m., a regular City Commission meeting, and then followed by December 12th, 2023 at 1 p.m., regular City Commission meeting. There is no second meeting in November. That takes us up to reports. Mr. Harrison, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir. If you will just look at your screen on your laptop, you will see that the city has been awarded the Silver LEED certificate for the new Senior Citizens Center.
Very cool. Congratulations. Good job.
That was a combined effort from Horatio, Tammy Good, all sorts of folks in our arena. Fernand is out here in the audience too. But it was another big step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Very good.
That concludes my report.
Well, that's a pretty good report, Mr. Harrison. Thank you. That takes us up to Mr. Berman, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. No report at this time.
Very good. Thank you for that. City Clerk?
No report.
No report. All right, we're on a roll here. City Commission, Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things for the city. First, I continue to get emails about the barricades on Atlantic and Dixie, and there's a view that some of them are unnecessary, and there are potentially unnecessary lanes barricaded off with not a lot of work going on at the time. So can we please ask the contractor to take a good look at what's barricaded off, and if there's things that don't need to be, to reopen them? Second, the streetlight conversation has me a little concerned because I've been asking questions about that, and it's a big project coming to my district, and there was clearly more information available. I really would like the city to be proactive about reaching out when there's something big coming to the district, so that I don't always have to ask questions. I know every couple weeks I asked about the Sixth Terrace Bridge, which is another big project that a lot of people are interested in. It's hard for me to leave my house without getting questions about that project. So it would be great to have proactive updates on these big projects that impact residents, because sometimes I don't know when to ask or the exact question to ask, so the streetlights, I think we'll have more conversations about, but there are documents from July that I didn't see until recently. So I think just try to share that information when they're big projects as quickly as possible so we can communicate with the residents. I would really appreciate that. We have a District 3 community meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the American Legion. Our award-winning utilities director, Randy Brown, has agreed to join and talk about all of these infrastructure projects. So come to the American Legion at 7 p.m. to learn more about what's going to happen in terms of the new water plant and all these investments we need to make, and he will be able to answer your questions. And then this seems to be a busy time of year. There are a lot of events going on. I see one up on the screen that I was going to mention. There's Boo Bash. Sand and Spurs is having their first event, thanks to Nancy Olson, who was here earlier. She has organized this amazing event at Horses and Hounds on Sunday. And then on November 4th, we are having a Kester Park Fun Day. I'm very excited about this. The city did a ribbon cutting for the Geobond project, but this is an opportunity for the residents to enjoy the park. Kester Park on November 4th, it's a fun reopening celebration. There'll be all kinds of activities, clinics for the kids, a bounce house, a dunk tank, food. So put that on your calendar. And I think that is all I have for now. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. Commissioner Moss.
Thank you, Mayor. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Is the Collier City Civic Association meeting to be held at the Collier City Library. I would encourage residents of Collier City to show up for that. I'll just say a little bit about this now. I'll say more about it later. But today I met with the city manager and assistant city manager, Earl Bosworth, about a potential upcoming event. I'm a member of a group called the Sons of the American Revolution, and a lot of you have probably heard of the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution. Well, this is the corresponding group for men, and it's people who are descended from people who fought in the Revolutionary War. The year 2026 is going to mark the 250th anniversary of a Declaration of Independence and the founding of our country. If you were from Massachusetts, as I am, you would know about the Liberty Tree. The Liberty Tree was a tree that was located on what is now Boston Common, and under that tree, the Sons of Liberty met. Sons of Liberty were a group made up of people like Paul Revere, John Adams, Samuel Adams, John Hancock, people who were instrumental in starting the revolution in this country. They were the ones that plotted the Boston Tea Party under the Liberty Tree and a number of other things. So that tree takes on great symbolic value for people from New England, but also all throughout the United States. So the Sons of the American Revolution is beginning a program whereby they're going to try to plant a Liberty tree in each of the municipalities in Broward County. And that tree would be to commemorate the 250th anniversary of American independence. So I met with the city manager, the vice manager, and assistant manager, excuse me, and a representative from the SAR, and it's something that we think we're going to move forward with. It's got great symbolic value, and by the way, the British chopped down the Liberty Tree because they weren't too happy about it. So it's something that will be coming down the road as we get closer to the year 2026, but I think it's a very good idea. We plant a Liberty Tree, we have a little celebration, and we commemorate the 250th anniversary of the founding of our republic. And so we're in a period of time now when a lot of people have doubts about our country and the direction in which it's heading. So I think that we as a community, if we do something like this, it would be make people feel a little bit better about their country and maybe a little bit more patriotic and interested in what goes on. So that'll be coming down the road. I'll be saying more about it at a later date. But do keep in mind that the year 2026 will be the 250th anniversary of the founding of our country. And that'll do it. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you for that, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you. I only have 2 items. On October 5th, the Broward State Attorney's Office held a free sealing and expungement workshop. And I just wanted to give the numbers and the result. There were 344 participants. 161 qualified, which is 48.8%, qualified to either seal or expunge their records. And also the Youth Justice Team, which is juvenile, they assisted 25 young adults to complete the process for expungement of their juvenile cases. So I just want to say hats off to Harold Pryor and his office.
Yes, that's great.
Great job, yes.
Yeah.
The last thing I have is I wanted to thank our city manager, Greg Harrison. The house is down. It was demolished today. So all day I've been next door taking pictures of the house, so we're getting ready for the Blanchely Museum parking lot because the house was demolished today, and it's been fun watching it and people riding by and calling and wondering what's going to happen there. So hats off to you, Mr. Harrison. Thank you. That's it.
Very good. And that's great news about that. Well, both great news, but that's great news about the expungement.
Yes.
I mean, that changes lives. I mean, it really does. Changes the trajectory of people's lives going forward. That's great news. Thank you for that.
There was
Appreciate
well
you.
over 1,000 people there, believe me.
Yeah,
It was
that's
a lot of people.
That's great. Great news. Thank you for that. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say it was great attending Galuppi's unveiling of their new outdoor event space. Beautiful patio overlooking the golf course, the beautiful golf course, the lake, et cetera. It's going to be a great addition to the city and a great venue. It was just gorgeous. So if you're planning an event, check it out. And also, I wanted to say the Crest Haven Civic Association is coming up Thursday, November 10th, 7 o'clock. We'll have our own tabbing, giving us a little rundown of what's coming up and in the cultural arts department, in the city events. And so we're looking forward to that. Also, if you really want to go and do something special, this Sunday, Sand and Spurs, Horses and Hounds costume contest. I've been talking to a lot of people, and so many people have told me, wow, I can remember going there as a kid. And it's such a unique place. It's on Fifth Avenue, right next to the blimp base, which you can't miss. So there's no confusion about where it is. It'll be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we'll have some horse demonstrations, horse costume, dog costume. If you want to dress up your dog, bring them and put them in the contest. Not a problem. We'll have some food trucks there, bounce house, and 50/50 raffles. We're going to have a monster truck display there, and hay rides. So it should really be a great event. I hope all you can make it. And I do want to just give a great shout out to Earl Bosworth, Rob McCon, all of the Public Works guys, Eric, Dondre, and so many more behind the scenes who have been working, doing a little housekeeping. Oh, Mark Boudreau, most especially. Thank you. We've been a little tidying up, getting ready for the event, and it should be a really great event. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot. And so come on by Sunday the 29th between 11 and 3 in the afternoon. All right, that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you,
I hope you can make it too, Mayor.
Okay, thank
Let me
you.
know if you're coming by. We'll get you on the stage up there.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
The first thing I wanted to say is that, definitely we have so many events coming up. Follow us on Facebook, on the City of Pompano Beach Facebook page, the Cultural Affairs Facebook page. I know we try and send it as much as possible. Sign up for the city newsletter that goes out, because there's just so many things coming that, with meetings as spaced as they are, can't always keep up with it, and keep our website, we're trying to get all the information out everywhere that we can. The second thing I want to talk about was just kind of a thought that's formed, especially today as we struggled doing what is necessary, with the water rates and things like that, but also getting the emails and hearing the people who seem very upset about the lights. And just wondering if that's something that maybe we can look into and spacing that type of investment out. If a neighborhood doesn't really need it right now and doesn't want it, or doesn't want these specific types of lights, to kind of offset the out-of-pocket for while we're doing the water treatment upgrades. Just, again, spitballing places where we can switch out to try and just take less out-of-pockets as we can, especially with how many people seem legitimately very upset and distraught by these specific lights. So I just kind of wanted to throw it out there for us all to consider and mull over, and maybe staff to take a look at, and just, again, if the water treatment's such a necessity timeline-wise, and if these aren't, maybe we can just better schedule. I'm not sure, but yeah, just kind of food for thought while I've been sitting here listening, and that's all I got.
Very good. Thank you for that. I've just got a couple of things, but on the issue of lights, because I know that Commissioner Segerson-Eaton, I believe that you've got extensive experience with lights, having the street lights put in Crest Haven and Highlands and Kendall Green, areas of that. And I'm just kind of curious. I know we've had people stand up here who are upset about the blinding lights and all that, but overall, how has the public viewed the new lights?
Yeah, by and large, it has been overwhelmingly positive result. There are some here and there. There are problems. Sometimes there's too many lights gotten put into a close spot. Just happened. FP&L messed up. They put two lights, very close to each other on one person's lot. Horatio and his team and John Strafopoulos, and they have been fantastic about correcting these problems. Sometimes it's because, oh my God, you put it right in front of my side yard gate, and now I can't get my boat in. Everybody's moving those quickly. So as individual issues come up, they're being addressed. Sometimes people want a shield. It's a little bright. We did have a great deal of confusion with some of the flat, super bright sort of highway lights that were put in error. And in one case, we have those lights that are still there because they haven't come out yet, and the new lights are in. But overall, I've gotten so much positive feedback. People feel so much safer on the streets. And when you're walking the streets or walking your dog, or you're just walking, you can see things. You can see people. And so as far as safety, it's just been amazing. And it is a bit of adjustment. They are white, clear, not the typical light bulbs that we are kind of used to in that yellowish tone, but they're bright and clear, and it takes a little bit of adjustment.
Yeah.
And I think everybody closes their blinds at night anyway, but it's such a deterrent to crime. You can catch people on your Ring cameras because you can see them. And, I have a sober home 4 houses down from me. I am constantly getting new people through there. People I don't recognize are walking down my street. I can see them. I can see at least that they're walking down the street and they're walking past my house and moving on. They're going somewhere. People have told me they feel so much safer, and they're so thankful. They love them. They're calling me mostly to say, why aren't my lights on? They've been up for a month. How come they're not being turned on?
Very good.
And it's a very complicated electrical grid, and it's a process. But we've been working through it, and people over in North Kendall Green hadn't had any lights and have been working on getting their lights for 20, 30 years. I mean, they've never had street lights, and that's kind of hard to imagine in this day and age. But safety, deterrence to crime, They're beautiful. I think they've increased the value of our community. And yeah, there's always, you can't please everyone.
Very good.
By
Yeah.
and large, it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Okay. Yeah, I was just, because I know staff doesn't just go out and do this stuff just to aggravate people, but sometimes, and not to say that, hey, everybody has their wants and thoughts on various issues, but yeah, I just was kind of curious about that particular issue. Before I forget, happy Halloween to everybody, and have a safe Halloween if you're going trick-or-treating or having your kids go out. Also, finally, I just want to say thank you to somebody who doesn't get thanks very often in our city, and that is our Public Works Department. It's the guys and girls out there in the Public Works Department, they keep this city looking good. You drive around Broward County and outside Broward County, and you compare our community to others, I think we're in pretty darn good shape. We can always do better. I mean, I let Rob know, but yeah, no, we got some good people out there. So keep up the good work. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison wants to say something.
Hervin, would you rise, please?
Oh.
We should have thanked you because you did a lot of work in helping with this utility rate business.
All right. Yeah. Very good. All right. Nothing further. This meeting is adjourned.